Douluo, I'm really not strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201. A fraud gang commits a crime. Kibeo glazed sect. What's this? Ning Fengzi and the others looked at the erected base station tower. Their minds were filled with dizziness, and they didn't know why Suzanne gave them this thing point. However, it must be something created by the Supreme Being, and it must have some profound meaning. Point. Patiently curious, Ning Fengzi followed the instructions written by Suzanne and started operating it, and also joined the group chat. Zioao City. Seeing Ning Fengzi joining the group chat, Zhu Mingtang and others' minds immediately became active. Third, brother, do you understand? Zhu Mingtang raised his eyebrows at Zhu Wuji on the sofa, with a harmless smile on his face. After making an okay gesture, Zhu Wuji immediately started typing. After a week of training, this guy can type faster than anyone else, and grab red envelopes faster than anyone else. All in all, everything is fast. Welcome to the group chat, Master Ning. This group was specially set up by the Supreme Senior. The purpose is to give everyone an opportunity to communicate. Newcomers are also invited to join the group and consciously send red envelopes at Ning Fengzi in less than 5 seconds. A text appeared in the group chat with instructions for sending red envelopes below. Similarly, Ning Fengzi also received this message. Seeing that the group chat was set up by the Supreme Leader, Ning Fengzi became slightly serious. This was a senior, so he had to be cautious. As for the red envelope, Ning Fengzi looked at the instructions, and it seemed that all he needed to do was bind the bank card, and then he started to operate it. He refunded 40 million from his bank card, and there was still 30 million left in it for emergencies, but he didn't care about it. Haha. Sect Master Ning is here too. Welcome. I just sent out a red envelope of 500,000 gold coins, so I learned how to send text messages. Sorry for being late, Ning Fengzi had just linked his bank card when he saw a person named Eternal Emperor in the group send a text to cue him, and Ning Fengzi's expression changed slightly. Emperor? Zui. Ning Fengzi had a vague guess, but seeing that he could get specific instructions for sending red envelopes, he had no doubts. It just so happened that he didn't know how to send messages. As for giving out red envelopes, I guess this is also one of the traditions of joining the group. Zhu Yi already gave out 500,000. What about me? Definitely not enough. After all, people like the Supreme Being are still watching. Zhu Yi paid 500,000, and he made such a huge profit from the auction and the potion of immortality. After thinking about it, Ning Fengzi sent out an 800,000 red envelope to see how the response was. If it was not enough, just add some more. Dad, you've become proficient in this business very quickly. Seeing Emperor Zhu Yi casually asking for 500,000 yuan, Suzanne couldn't help but be dumbfounded in the bedroom, admiring him deeply. You are cruel enough by saying 50,000 is 500,000. You are trying to trick Ning Fengzi to death. I wonder if Ning Fengzi will read the chat history. Otherwise, his dad. 3 seconds of silence for you. How much do you think Ning Fengzi will pay? Stroking Xian Ringsu's back and watching Xian Ringsu's eyes shining brightly while staring at her phone, Suzanne rubbed her forehead and said with a smile, "It will definitely not be less than 500,000. Xian Ringsu lay comfortably next to Suzanne, her head resting on Suzanne's shoulder, her eyes full of excitement and expectation. Seeing Xian Ringsu like this, Suzanne couldn't help laughing and couldn't help but move her hands. Done. Make trouble. It's Sichi. It's okay. I'll scratch it for you again." Downstairs, when they saw Zhu Yi asking for 500,000, the two brothers Zhu Wuji were stunned, and then they immediately came back to their senses. Sure enough, people who have been cheated learn very quickly. There is no need to discuss this cooperation. It just comes. My father is my father, and he is willing to take action for 500,000. He is really domineering. My father is the head of a country and is rich all over the world, so he is naturally rich. The Intense compliments started, and Zhu Wuji and Zhu Mingtang seemed to be deliberately ignoring Ning Fengzi, just basking him, waiting for him to jump into the bowl. Obediently. Unbalanced mind. Feel like you're being poorly treated. Sorry, Zhu Yi was given a big red envelope and must enjoy SVIP treatment. You can do it. Come on too. Ning Fengzi couldn't help but feel out of touch when he saw that Zhu Yi was having a heated discussion with them, already starting to talk about video, photography and other words he had never heard before. Mobile phones are a good thing in the future. After all, they can deepen connections and let you know immediately if there is any trouble. Therefore, it is better for him to become proficient as soon as possible. Mara Liu opened the red envelope, and Ning Fengzi directly sent it 800,000 yuan. Damn it. In an instant, the group chat exploded, and even Zhu Yi couldn't help but use foul language. Damn it. What a rich man. Seeing that he had grabbed 150,000 yuan and made 100,000 gold coins all at once, Emperor Zhuai immediately became excited. It was like an electric current surged into his body, and the stimulating pleasure was even more comfortable than being an emperor. Emperor Zhuai almost groaned. Sect Leader Ning is indeed a rich man. I'm completely convinced. Eternal Emperor, only Sect Master Ning can have such a big red envelope. Without further ado, here is the Zhu Wuji Code Calligraphy Collection. Always convince people with reason. Subsequently, a white document was issued, including how to use pinyin, Wubi typing, handwriting input, etc. There is even a pinyin list at the back, which is really everything. These two hand speed freaks, seeing Zhu Yi and Zhu Wuji moving so fast, the corners of Zhu Mingtang's mouth twitched sharply. The admiration of the younger generations for their elders is like the endless flow of a surging river, and like the overflowing Kang River that is out of control. Please call me smart. Later, he also issued a questions basic operation manual. This book was written after he studied for several days. The purpose, ahem. I can't say more. Anyway, he just stripped off a lot of money. He professionally deceived the novice for 1 minute and made tens of thousands of dollars. Only Zhu Wuji, a mentally retarded person, wrote a coding manual. Look at our brains. Seeing Emperor Zhu Yi starting to praise him, Ning Fengzi's face turned red, and she couldn't help but feel a little light inside. Fengzi, what on earth is this? Seeing that Ning Fengzi was a little triumphant, as if he had encountered some great surprise, Douluo couldn't help but ask. Ning Fengzi recovered slightly, looked up at Gurong, and explained with a smile, this thing seems to be a chat thing. There is a group chat in it. You can talk to Emperor Zhuai and the others here. I heard that the Supreme Senior is also in the group. Group chat? They don't quite understand this new word, but the Supreme Being is here, so they must be a good thing. Ahem. Feng Zhi, why don't you give me a try? It just so happens that I haven't met the Supreme Senior, so I haven't thanked you enough for the soul bones. Douluo said, and saw Douluo on the side was also very interested. Do you play? What a joke. He had already given out the red envelopes, but he hadn't even left yet to figure out how he could hand them over. Ahem. I'd better be grateful for you. It just so happens that I also learned how to use it. Ning Fengzi retracted his hand slightly, and this lesson was until the phone ran out of battery. Chapter 202 Hot Group Chat and Conspiracy. That's right. Su Xian didn't give electricity to Emperor Zhu Yi and the others, not even a charger or power bank. As a result, when their mobile phones are out of battery, they have no time to play, especially when some people are having fun. GG. I think everyone knows what kind of experience it is when the battery runs out while playing games or watching short videos. That's right, Su Xian wants to strangle their best experience. Otherwise, how can mobile phones make them flock to it and open up the market from the top? These 15 mobile phones are given away for free, but other mobile phones are not given away for free. It shouldn't be too much to buy a mobile phone for a few thousand yuan in future generations and sell it for a few thousand gold coins yourself, right? Hiss, it seems that I have become an evil capitalist. What a sin. Well, when mobile payment becomes popular, you should activate banks and issue banknotes to destroy the current currency. When the time comes, who has the final say in the Star Luo Empire will depend on how you feel. Economic sanctions, internet blockades, power cuts, and the internet are smearing their royal family, then he will find a child to become the emperor. I believe the people will cheer for it. I didn't expect that I would become so bad. Suzanne couldn't help but shook his head, feeling that his holy body had been polluted and urgently needed the comfort of angels to recover. Diddy. Suzanne was stunned when he heard someone added him as a friend. 3. Suzanne raised his eyebrows slightly. Point if Zuan, Zuyi and Zuyu didn't know the real situation, they would have thought they were one family. Forget it, Zuyi, he is also in the group. As for Zuan, let's add him. As for Zuyu, there's nothing much to say, so let's add him together and make him a good friend. Zui, I have a saying that I don't know if I should say it or not. The couriers sent by Bei include Zui, Zuyan, Nangang Yunshan, Zuiao and Gubo in Xiandao City. Point these Dao Dao received them almost at the same time. When Ning Fengzi joined the group, they were all already in the group. However, they were all studying the instructions written by Zhu Wuji, so they didn't pay much attention to the group messages. When I come back to my senses, from the Xu family in Xiandao City, a little man wearing a blue skirt was lying on his big bed, playing with his mobile phone enthusiastically. Xu Bing's eyes lit up when she saw the red envelope, but then she bit her pink lips and her face became a little aggrieved. There are so many gold coins. The Kibeo glazed sect is really rich, but it's a pity that the Lun family didn't receive it. We counted and found that the minimum amount actually started at 100,000. Schubinger even felt that it was a wrong 100 million. 100,000 gold coins. Her monthly pocket money is only 1,000 gold coins, which is equivalent to her 10 years of pocket money. Thinking of this, Shubinger's nose turned red and tears welled up in her eyes. I beg you to send a red envelope to the little girl alone. I'm so grateful. Even the steady Schubinger, who had a bulging face, was hit by a huge sum of 100,000 yuan, and her character was gone, leaving only full of grievances. Nangang family. Nangang Yunshan looked at the news above and couldn't help but shook his head. Fortunately, I was smart and didn't fall for the tricks of these two thieves. Otherwise, the tragic experience of Ning Fengzi, who joined the group too late, would be his fate. A set of combo punches was taken away directly. He was beaten and didn't even know that he had been cheated. He was still bragging proudly about how good the auction items were and how miserable he was for flattering the master. This should be the girl from the Xu family, right? Seeing the crying expression of the girl named Zuyu, Nangang Yunshan thought about it and immediately targeted Shubinger. The Xu family has business dealings with Nangang Qiu, and of course they rely on the Nangang family to make money. I still know Zuiao Nangang Yunshan, but this doesn't sound like her tone. When she went to the auction, she brought a girl with her who looked very similar to her, recalling Shubinger's appearance. Nangang Yunshan couldn't help but think of Nangang Ling, who was equally gentle and dignified. Alas, thinking that he could be considered a grandfather, Nangang Yunshan handed over a 10,000 gold coin. Well, he is definitely not overflowing with girlishness, it's just a little bit of his heart. Thank you, Grandpa Nangang. Seeing that there were actually 10,000 gold coins inside, Shubinger covered her mouth, full of surprise. Immediately, she immediately responded to Nangang Yunshan and added her as a friend. In the group, a sour smell spread, and then the crusade began. Grandpa, we need an explanation, always. Convince people with reason. That's right. Is the Queen Mother your biological child? Please call me smart, father-in-law. I also want to know this. Why don't you send red envelopes to our family? Eternal Emperor, Grandpa, I don't speak, I just watch silently. Princess Xiaoyao, Senior Nangang, you can't favor one over the other. Ning, old man Yunshan, you are a bad old man who gave red envelopes to this girl. You definitely have bad intentions. If you don't give out 1 million gold coins, you will see what bad news will come out of Xiandao City tomorrow. Loneliness cold, support Senior Debu, support. Upstairs, Nangang, Yunshan, MMP, what kind of thing is this? Why don't I just send you a red envelope? Why are you so verbally abusive? Depend on, believe it or not, I left the group. The charm of group chat and the privacy of mobile phones are already releasing your personality. As soon as you make contact with them, this kind of release of potential character and amplification of original character is the same. Whether it is a child or an adult, even the most sane people can become children on the internet. The coordination of guest self and main self, the integration of virtual personality and reality. This is the complete person. Professional online media, academic terminology, don't bother. It is also a very interesting thing to let others see a different version of yourself. Once you have nothing to do, you will feel better immediately. Xian chatted with everyone in the group for a while, then changed into the group leader's role, with the title of Taishang above his head, and started a new round of cutting leaks. Time passed slowly, and at night, someone finally started asking key questions. Everyone, why did the phone show that the battery is low just now? What does it mean? Ning, Kibeo glazed sect. Ning Fengzi was watching a TV series called The Daily Life of the Richest Man when this suddenly popped up, almost startling him. The battery is low? Didn't sect leader Ning read the instructions on the phone? The lovely Binger, yes, it says on the instructions that I still have 50% of the battery. Good news. Damn it. I'm begging you, how to charge it? Eternal Emperor, how do you charge a mobile phone? Our quiet and beautiful man lonely cold. Following Ling Feng's words, the group immediately exploded, and they finally realized that such a fun thing also needs to be recharged. However, what are the plugs and interfaces in this manual? Thanks to Yin Huang, Xiao Bei, for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, The Toughest Prince in History. On the second floor of the villa, a graceful and moving figure came to the lobby, watching Zhu Wuji and the two still having fun, or chatting privately to trick others into giving out red envelopes. Zhu Bingning directly picked up a cotton pillow and threw it. Confused boom. It hit Zhu Wuji's head, and his brain was also. I'm talking about you too. Others are asking about the power supply. Do you have the qualities to be a sales manager? Zhu Bingning shouted angrily. As the general manager, she has to do this little thing without exhausting herself, and the book clearly states that this is the job of the sales manager. Oh, I understand. When business came to visit, although Zhu Wuji and Zhu Mingtang were reluctant to leave, they quickly returned to the group chat. Alas, Zhu Bingning shook her head helplessly, then lay down on the sofa on the second floor, holding her own book and starting to read. On the cover, I saw self-cultivation of the general manager written in regular script. Mainland Heroes group chat. Ahem. Everyone, charging a mobile phone requires a fixed current and voltage. If the current is too high, the mobile phone will explode. Since Xiao City has not been able to provide power to various places for a short period of time, I would like to ask everyone to save electricity. At ALL members, please call me smart. What? Can't charge? At this time, everyone couldn't sit still anymore. It's such a fun thing like a mobile phone, but there's no way to charge it. Your Highness, what are you doing for food? Why don't you have stable electricity? Ning, I agree. Upstairs, I have sent my mobile phone to you. Now you tell me that there is no battery. Believe it or not, I will release poison for you late at night. Lonely cold, how can I have a stable power supply? I only have 67% of the electricity left. Please give it to me first. Nangang Yunshan, I want some shame. Upstairs, there is only 19% electricity. What did I say? You should provide it to me first. Ning, what are you fighting for? As a grandfather, why should I wait for your juniors? Waving to calm the world, the group chat became more and more intense, and it was almost time for a fight. Seeing this scene, Zhu Mingtang, the administrator, immediately initiated a ban on all members. Everyone. Xiao City does have stable power supply, but it has not been transmitted to the vicinity of Xiandao City for the time being. We promise that we will deliver electricity over time. Please call me smart. After saying that, Zhu Wuji quickly unblocked the group chat, not daring to act like an administrator here. Point except for Xue Qinghe. Everyone in the group is father. How can he afford to offend him? What the hell? It will take some time. I'm currently at 19%. I can sustain it for an hour. Ning Fengzi of the Kibeo glazed sect, who had not even eaten dinner, was furious. He has not finished watching half of the TV series, and his heart is itching. Now if you tell him that he can't continue watching, isn't this just teasing him? MMP. You are deliberately trying to whet my appetite, you brat. I'm your father. I order you to send the phone here tonight. Otherwise don't blame me for sending someone to capture you. Zhu. He was also furious and started without preparing anything properly. Is this how your father taught you? The same is true for air battleships. The operation is not explained clearly. The same is true for mobile phones now. Damn it, all of your wings are stiff. Oh my god, I dare to threaten the administrator. Seeing that Emperor Zhu actually threatened him openly, Zhu Wuji's temper suddenly rose, and he directly gave Emperor Zhu a banning package. Eternal Emperor was banned for half an hour by the administrator, who always convinces people with reason. Chapter 204. Baby Dan joins the group. In the sky, meteors flashed away. Saw Douluo led Ning Fengzi with his sword and headed straight for Xiao City. Fengzi, why are you in such a hurry to go to Xiao City? Saw Douluo asked in confusion. Ning Fengzi was not someone who acted swiftly and resolutely. He always thought carefully before taking action. Now, it was a bit strange to travel to Xiao City at night. I have a hunch that a new era is coming soon. If the Kibeo glazed sect cannot gain a firm foothold in this era, it will most likely lose its original advantages because it cannot keep up with the needs of the times. Looking up at the bright moon in the sky, Ning Fengzi felt some complicated emotions in his heart. The sense of crisis welling up in his heart made his hands and feet feel cold. The Kibeo glazed sect can become the top 3 sects, except for the title Douluo, which means huge wealth. Now this huge wealth seems to be facing challenges. Although he didn't know where this challenge came from, he smelled a huge threat from his mobile phone. If you can link a bank card to send red envelopes, can it also be used for transactions? By then everyone will be using mobile phones, and even various transactions will be negotiated directly on the mobile phone. What about Kibeo glazed sect's offline industry? When Xiao City mentioned the matter of power transmission, the nobles would definitely be able to obtain mobile phones. Although mobile phones are very convenient, Kibeo glazed sect faces greater challenges. In the past, 4 or 5 families competed for one customer, but now, hundreds of families or even thousands of families. Regional restrictions have been eliminated. This is an opportunity, but it is also a huge challenge for the Kibeo glazed sect. If Xian knew what Ning Fengzi was thinking at this moment, he would be shocked. This guy just came into contact with mobile phones during the day, and his internet thinking was born at night. Damn it. If you time travel to the beginning of the next generation, the richest man will definitely be yours. Fengzi, is it possible that soul guidance devices can still be mass produced? Saw Douluo asked with a frown. You misunderstood. I meant other things. Even if the soul guide has an impact on the 7 treasures glazed sect, it will still be a long-term change. Seeing that Sword Douluo actually thought it was a soul guide, Ning Fengzi couldn't help but shook his head and replied. He has already had people study the soul guide, and the formations and metals inside are extremely complex. In particular, one piece is inlaid with soul bones. Without thousands of years of research into such craftsmanship, I'm afraid it will not be possible to develop it. But the mobile phone thing is different, because Xiao City has already started working on it, and there is still the shadow of Taishangin at point once Dentang reaches Kibeo City and Xiandao City. The era of mobile phones will begin, and Kibeo glazed sect needs to seize its advantage in the cusp of the storm point under the bright moon. It was not only Ning Fengzi and Zhu Yi who were on their way, but also the hard-working couriers Beihe also came to Wuhan City, but unfortunately he was stopped before he could enter. He, as one of the 4 affiliated families of Haoshan sect, you broke into Wuhan City at night. Do you really think that our Wuhan palace is vegetarian? An old cardinal appeared in front of Beihe. He seemed to know Beihe, and the surrounding soul masters immediately gathered around him. Ruti, I was entrusted by His Highness the Xian Empire to bring the gifts from the last auction. If you dare to block it and delay things, don't blame me for not reminding you. Beihe had a grudge against Wu Hundian in the first place, but Beihe immediately responded unceremoniously without holding back. When he heard that it was a gift from the auction, Cardinal Jeruti's expression suddenly changed. The fact that His Majesty the Pope brought back the potion of immortality and the innate power from the auction has caused an uproar within the Wuhan Palace. Even many elders are vaguely in agreement. Give me the gift and I will present it to His Majesty the Pope. The gifts at the auction must be extraordinary, and he can also show his face in front of His Majesty the Pope, Jeruti said without any doubt as he pondered slightly. But, hearing this, Beihe didn't care and gave him the box containing the mobile phone, turned around and left Wuhan City. He still needs to go to the Star Luo Empire to deliver gifts, so how can he spend them here? Seeing Beihe leaving, Jeruti raised his eyebrows, but didn't care, and immediately turned around and headed towards the Pope's palace. Papal palace study. Bibi Dong's face looked a little bad, and she frowned, not knowing what to think about. Glancing slightly at the explanations about the innate skills and their delivery placed on the table. Bibi Dong frowned even deeper. The potion of agelessness has greatly strengthened her status in the Pope's palace, and she is very satisfied with it. But why was she unable to practice this innate skill alone, but instead felt that her strength was declining? His Majesty the Pope, Cardinal Jeruti asked to see you. He said that His Highness Xiandao City has a gift for you. At this moment, the sergeant guarding the Pope's palace came to report. Bibi Dong's expression suddenly changed, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Bring the gifts in immediately, Bibi Dong shouted. As for Cardinal Jeruti, Bibi Dong simply ignored him. As a pope, if she has to thank her subordinates in person for any trivial matter, she doesn't need to be this pope. Yes, a respectful voice sounded outside the door, and then the heavy sound of iron armor slowly disappeared. I wonder, what kind of gift is it? Looking at the door, Bibi Dong's eyes flashed with curiosity. After a while, she finally received the gift. The moment she saw the phone, Bibi Dong's heart suddenly trembled, her nose felt sore, and the corners of her mouth raised inadvertently. She had owned this thing before, but it ran out of power in the end. She didn't expect to receive this gift again, and 20 years had passed in the blink of an eye. After a while, Bibi Dong also joined the group chat. Welcome His Majesty the Pope to the group. Always convince people with reason. Welcome His Majesty the Pope. Please call me smart. Newcomers are given red envelopes when they join the group. This is the tradition of the group. Please be more conscious. Eternal Emperor, kneel down and beg for red envelope +1. Chiangsha, please give me a red envelope. Shubinger, why haven't I heard that you have to give out red envelopes to join the group? I wonder who can tell me. Seeing a large group of people here shouting and giving out red envelopes, Bibi Dong sneered inwardly. She really thought that it was my first day playing with mobile phones, and she was tricking me here. Teacher, did you create this group? Smile at TAISHANG. Seeing that the supreme leader was the group leader, Bibi Dong immediately at HIM and asked. In an instant, everyone was stunned and felt like 5 thunders were hitting the sky. Damn it. Did Bibi Dong call Taishang teacher just now? Rubbing their eyes tightly, everyone was finally sure that it was true. Damn it, isn't teacher Bibi Dong the previous pope? When did he become the supreme? Conspiracy. It's definitely a conspiracy. If we look at it this way, wouldn't the relationship between His Highness and Bibi Dong be that of senior sister and junior brother? Thanks to Touchfish for the reward. Chapter 205. Breaking news. Solid news. Senseless, completely confused, Emperor Zui, who had come all the way at Starry Night, saw the conversation in the group chat, and his brain was like mush at the moment. Bibi Dong is a disciple of the Supreme Being, and she and her eldest son are senior sisters and junior brothers. Damn it, could this be even more bloody? So, how to deal with the relationship between Xiandao Empire and Wuhan Palace? How would others view the relationship between the Xiandao Empire and the Spirit Hall? Why are we moving closer to friends after we promised to be enemies? Bibi Dong is your senior sister? After hastily sending a message to Suzanne, Emperor Xue held his breath and couldn't believe the news. 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, damn, where did the people die? Seeing that Suzanne didn't reply to messages, Emperor Xue suddenly became angry and was so impatient that he wanted to smash his phone point, and equally impatient were the people in the group chat. Question marks and exclamation marks were all floating around in the group, without any words obviously. Everyone was shocked by this big news, seeing that Taishang didn't reply to the message. Bibi Dong was stunned and then opened her questions friend list. How? Not seeing that there were no Taishang friends in her questions, Bibi Dong looked confused. This account is obviously hers. Even the password is the same. She remembers chatting with Taishang often before. So why doesn't he have any friends now? After calming down, Bibi Dong didn't think too much and added Taishang's friend again. Seeing that he didn't pass immediately, Bibi Dong didn't worry and instead started chatting with everyone in the group. On the other side, Suzanne was flirting with Xian Ringsu. Nonsense. I'm teaching her how to cook. This crab race is a relatively simple dish, easier to master. Just add a little salt, sweet and sour to taste, stir evenly and put it in the pot. Yes, remember not to let it get mushy. It will be fine when it is cooked through. Come, let me teach you. Seeing Xian Ringsu's unfamiliar skill of turning pots with a spatula, Suzanne grabbed her hand and started teaching her step by step. I know how to do it. I don't need you to teach me. Xian Ringsu's face turned slightly red and she pulled Suzanne's arm away slightly, her pretty rosy face showing embarrassment and stubbornness. Okay, you can do it. Seeing Xian Ringsu like this, Suzanne had nothing to say and quickly let go of Xian Ringsu's hand. Do you think he is eating tofu? If you think so, you are totally wrong. He is definitely not such a person. Look at how quickly he lets go. Xian Ringsu thought so too, but the next second she knew she was overthinking. I saw a figure hugging her from behind, his hands wrapped around her waist and his head resting on his shoulders. With such a lazy look, he almost hung himself on her. If you keep staring at me, the eggs will be burnt. Suzanne tightened her arms and warned. Staring at Suzanne with a red face, Xian Ringsu quickly flipped the spatula. 2 minutes later, the crab racing is done. You can let go. Seeing that Suzanne didn't move at all, Xian Ringsu raised her shoulders and reminded him angrily. I'm asleep. Don't disturb me. Suzanne muttered. Xian Ringsu? Are you sure you fell asleep? Laughing at someone who is trying to show off their beauty and show off their power. How can they be compatible if they have no intention of doing so? The ringing sound is crisp and the lights are dim between the curtains. You and I are the perfect match at this moment. A beautiful voice suddenly sounded, and Suzanne was also surprised. He didn't expect Xian Ringsu to be so straightforward. The most perfect match. It made the Lun family feel a little embarrassed. It's better for us to keep a low profile on this kind of thing. Hearing this song, Xian Ringsu's Zanayu blushed, turned to look at the approaching figure, and then looked at Suzanne, with a look of helplessness on her face. You can never wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep, right? Xian Ringsu said. That's true. If a girl as good as Xue is holding her, who would want to wake up? Zhu Bingning couldn't help but laugh. Suzanne? It turns out it's you, cousin. I thought it was Xue who played the music, so appropriate for the occasion. Suzanne laughed awkwardly. Zhu Bingning gave him a blank look and said, now the group is about to explode, you'd better go and have a look. What happened again? Suzanne asked quickly. Pope Bibi Dong has entered the group. Zhu Bingning replied briefly. Hearing this, both Suzanne and Xian Ringsu shuddered. The latter immediately understood and was about to go back to the room to get his cell phone that was charging. Halfway through, Suzanne fell back again, picked up a mouthful of eggs and put it in his mouth with a smile of enjoyment on his face. It tastes good. You can go out now. Remember to save some for me later. After squeezing Xian Ringsu's shoulders encouragingly, Suzanne solemnly left a word and then almost left. This man's affection for his concubine is really enviable to others. The snow ice tasted sour. What did Sister Bingning say, turning even redder? Xian Ringsu looked at the crab she had fried and quickly changed the subject. I made this. Sister Bingning, do you want to try it? I won't eat it. If it tastes so good that I can't bear it, someone won't be able to get angry with me later. Zhu Bingning covered her mouth and smiled. Sister Bingning, you. Qian Rinxu's face suddenly turned red, and the two immediately started fighting. They heard bursts of begging for mercy. Qian Rinxu's teachings at night caused Zhu Bingning to be defeated instantly. Point on the other side, Suzanne returned to the bedroom and was extremely shocked when he saw that questions was full of messages. Zuan, Emperor Zuyi, Zhu Wuji, Du Gubo, Nangang Yunshan, almost everyone who was close to him sent messages asking him. There is only one sentence between the lines. Is Bibi Dong the Taishang's apprentice and his senior sister? Senior sister? How could she be my senior sister or my mother-in-law? Muttering to himself, Suzanne looked at the chat history and already knew everything. He didn't expect Bibi Dong's attitude towards the supreme being to be so firm. He even called the teacher directly without any concealment, and he was considered to have suffered an unreasonable disaster. They all replied, I don't know, I'll contact the teacher to ask, and then Suzanne boarded his Taishang account. BJ immediately said, Donja, this group is specially set up for the teacher to facilitate everyone's contact. I have asked your junior brother to start producing mobile phones to change the backward communication situation in this world. After saying that, Suzanne added another sentence to prevent Bibi Dong from making things difficult for him. Your junior brother has an adventure and his future achievements limitless. Please take more care of him. Well, this answer is perfect, absolutely impeccable. Donja, hearing this title, everyone felt goosebumps. That was the majestic Pope of Wuhan Palace. However, following the Taishang's speech, everyone now understood that this is a master-disciple relationship. MMP. Not only do they have Qian Daoliu in Wuhan Palace, but now they have a Taishang. How can they survive? Chapter 200. Spread the flowers. Thanks to stars, solar energy, sleeping god, for the reward. Chapter 206. Three-party talks are about to begin. After seeing what the Supreme Being said, Bibi Dong had nothing to say, so he should keep it in mind. If mobile phones were popularized, the strength of their Wuhan temple would not be affected, and it would also be convenient for her to contact each temple and the main temple point. But teacher, this phone doesn't seem to be durable. I used it for 3 days and still used a power bank. It only lasted a week. After typing these words, Bibi Dong asked him to apply as a friend. Your junior brother is already thinking about the power supply. This problem will be solved in a while. After finishing speaking, Suzanne opened the new friend list and approved Bibi Dong's friend application point in the group. Bibi Dong's eyes lit up when he heard that there would be power supply, and he quickly said, Junior brother, please give priority to the Pope's palace when power is supplied. If there is any difficulty, I can send someone to assist you. Depend on. Seeing Bibi Dong joining in, the others in the group immediately became excited, especially now that most of the people joining the group were from the Xian city side. Moreover, most of them are members of the royal family, and they are much more approachable than senior sisters. Your Majesty, don't listen to her. Xiao city is close to Xian city. It's better to give priority to Xian city. Eternal Emperor, on the top floor, +1, and Chiangsha +2, Nangang. Yunshan under the night sky. Ning Fengzi stepped on the long sword and looked at the group chat slightly. When he discovered that Bibi Dong was actually in the group, he was suddenly startled. But when he saw Bibi Dong's unreasonable request, he immediately sneered. I think supplying to Xian city should be given priority. The road is closer, especially to Qibao city. Besides, everyone is here to go to Wuhan city. You need to cross a province in the middle, which is really inconvenient. Since Your Majesty the Pope already knows how to use a mobile phone, why bother fighting with the likes of us? Ning Mao good. Seeing Ning Fengzi confronting Bibi Dong, everyone secretly applauded. Zuyi, in particular, burst into laughter. He is his father. If he doesn't prioritize Xian city, I will beat the shit out of him. With the corner of his mouth raised slightly, Zuyi replied triumphantly, ahem, I'm sorry, I will be in Xiao city shortly, so please don't worry, everyone. Nangang family, this brat is indeed more shameless than anyone else in his scheming. Seeing that Zhuyi had already set off, Nangang Yunshan couldn't help laughing and scolding him. He was worthy of being an emperor, and he really saw things clearly. Your Majesty is so decisive and so wise. After silently agreeing, Nangang Yunshan did not dwell on the matter and started diving. Emperor Zhuyi has gone to Xiao City. If he still can't resolve this matter, I'll see if I don't kick him to death. Ha ha ha. The heroes really see the same thing. I'm almost at Xiao City. Unexpectedly, Zhuyi also came. Ning Fengzi laughed happily, which made Sword Douluo's face twitch. If he hadn't seen him looking at his phone, he would have thought he was crazy. The 7 treasures turned out to be colored glaze, and the third one said, hurry, planning to rush to Xiao City before Emperor Zhuyi. Ning Fengzi directly released his martial spirit to speed up Sword Douluo. In the study room, seeing that Ning Fengzi and the others had already set off for Xiao City, Bibi Dong's eyes suddenly narrowed, with a cold light flashing in them. It seems that I also want to go to Xiao City, muttering to herself. Bibi Dong slowly stood up, with a graceful figure and a noble and elegant temperament, and walked out of the study. His Majesty the Pope, seeing Bibi Dong leaving the study, all the guards around him saluted, even Ghost Douluo did the same. However, Bibi Dong didn't seem to have the intention to respond. She lowered her head and left with her cell phone in her right hand. At this moment, she was chatting with Taishang. Teacher, are you in Xiao City now? When Suzanne saw Bibi Dong asking this, her heart trembled. If he answered yes, he would not be able to play 2 roles. When Bibi Dong came to Wuhan Hall. So I plan to visit other realms, but I'm not in Xiao City, so I want you to take care of your junior brother. I can give you guidance on cultivation through my mobile phone, but he is a soul sect after all, and his strength is too low. This world is very big, and there are many dangers. Poseidon Island, the Killing City, the Far North, and even the God Realm. Seeing that he had finished pretending, Suzanne stopped immediately and did not continue. Teacher, have you been to the God Realm? Bibi Dong was shocked and asked quickly. In a boring place. Although they have eternal life, it is extremely boring. Otherwise, they would not have taken the test to find a successor and seek freedom for themselves. Bibi Dong was also shocked when he heard that this was how the divine test came about. He allowed others to become gods just for his own comfort. In this case, wouldn't the Rakshasa god also be? Knowing that Bibi Dong was currently in shock, Suzanne sent another message. Seeing that you are now on the road to becoming a Rakshasa god, I don't know what to say as a teacher. I have never experienced it, so don't try to persuade others to do good. You should take it more seriously, okay? I'm tired of being a teacher. If you have something to do, go and discuss it with your junior brother. By the way, go see that girl. After speaking, Suzanne didn't hesitate at all and switched directly to his questions account and deleted Taishang's number, making it offline for a long time. He was afraid that if he continued like this, he would suffer from schizophrenia. Outside Wuhan City, Bibi Dong looked at the messages on her phone and couldn't help herself. She squatted on the ground aggrievedly, choking like the girl next door. Alas, there must be something pitiful about those hateful people. Xiao City, villain number 1. Hearing that Emperor Zhuyi was coming to kill, Zhu Mingtong immediately panicked, and even more panicked was Zhu Wuji. It's fine to show off one's prestige online and be banned from speaking, but if he really faced Emperor Zhuyi, he would definitely be beaten to death. It seems that he beat himself last time. His third brother, you have to save me. Looking at Zhu Mingtong, Zhu Wuji was so aggrieved and frightened that he almost cried, and his trembling voice seemed to be mixed with tears. Save you, isn't it like setting yourself on fire? Zhu Mingtong refused in his heart, but on the surface he was calm and composed. Don't worry, even if my father comes, he won't do anything to you. Don't forget that you are the deputy sales manager now, and you are in charge of major sales matters. My father may not do anything to you. Do I need to ask you to do something? Do you still have to beg me? Zhu Wuji's pupils shrank suddenly, but he was used to being cheated, and now he also had a better memory. Otherwise, I'll tell you about the ban. Did you use my phone to do it? Zhu Wuji discussed in a low voice. Get out. I don't want to commit suicide on my own. This matter has nothing to do with me. Zoomington roared. Zhu Wuji, didn't you say it's okay? Woohoo, I knew you were trying to trick me. Exclamation mark. Chapter 207 Market Division. Plunder begins. As expected, Ning Fengzi was the first to arrive at Xiaoyao City. He was extremely curious when he saw the layout and architecture of Xiaoyao City. But then he was surrounded with more than a dozen combat robots surrounding him and saw Douluo. These iron lumps are actually conscious. Ning Fengzi was also shocked when he saw the robots around him. If it weren't for the Zixing he had accumulated over the years, he would have been scared to death right now. Combat robots are different from ordinary robots, so they are not fitted to human skin. The metal shell looks domineering, trespassing, without permission. Before the leading robot could finish speaking, he suddenly left with all his men, as if he had received some order. It is an honor for Xiaoyao City to have Sect Master Ning come here. A white figure shot straight into the sky, and Suzanne arrived in front of Ning Fengzi, and Ning Fengzi in the blink of an eye, smiling and saying hello. What are you talking about, Your Highness? Being able to come to Xiaoyao City is an eye-opener for me. Ning Fengzi replied. After a brief official greeting, Suzanne invited the two of them to the villa. As soon as he stepped into the villa, Suzanne heard a sound of howling ghosts and wolves, and was almost scared out of his wits. Looking north as the wolf smoke rises across the country, dragon flag, horse, long neighing, sword aura as frosty. Zhu Wuji, what are you yelling at? A good song about serving the country with loyalty turned him into uneasy. Suzanne suddenly became angry and wanted to give him a slap in the face with his slippers. Ahem. Needless to say, Suzanne saw Ning Fengzi coming, and Zhu Wuji immediately stopped, his face full of embarrassment. As for Zoomington, he had already moved more than 10 meters away and strongly resisted this idiot. MMP, do you think that, by learning to sing this song, and flattering your father, you can make him not care about what happened before? The dignified emperor was slapped in the face by his son in front of the top people in the mainland. If he could bear it, his father would not be able to turn into a ninja turtle. This kid is probably crazy, so just ignore him. Suzanne reminded. Ahem. His Highness's singing voice needs to be improved. It seems that he needs to go to Yuxuan to learn. Ning Fengzi had an awkward smile on his face. He had been so frightened by the howling sound just now that his hair stood on end. After chatting for a while, Ning Fengzi finally explained the purpose of his visit. Your Highness is probably going to sell a lot of mobile phones, right? Looking straight at Suzanne, Ning Fengzi asked with a confident look on his face. Well, the teacher asked me to promote the mobile phone so that everyone can contact each other more easily. This is not a secret at all. It was already mentioned in the group chat just now, and Suzanne has nothing to talk nonsense about. Ning is here to seek cooperation this time. If His Highness can be trusted, why not leave this matter to Ning? With the strength of the Kibeo Glazed sect, selling mobile phones is definitely the fastest option. With bright eyes, Ning Fengzi finally explained the purpose of his visit. That's right, it's cooperation. Do you think he came just for the electricity? Electricity is just for convenience. He is not such a narrow-minded person. With the promotion and use of mobile phones, as long as they monopolize the source of supply, the Kibeo Glazed sect will be able to gain huge profits. Not only that, once the Kibeo Glazed sect masters such cutting-edge technology, it will be able to lead the entire continent. Taking the lead will be an immeasurable wealth in the future where mobile phones will bring about changes. Sect Master Ning seems to have a big appetite. The words had already been spoken, and Suzanne didn't hide anything. After replying with a smile, the conversation suddenly changed, and he said bluntly, Sect Master Ning, this Xian Dao Empire belongs to my Zhu family. As long as my father gives the order, are you afraid that you won't be able to sell your mobile phone? What Your Highness said is indeed reasonable, but the royal family has many things to consider, but businessmen do not. It is said that there is no business without profit. Ning Fengzi seemed to have thought of this a long time ago. His face remained motionless, but he smiled. Since Suzanne didn't refuse outright, there was a possibility that they could continue talking. Sect leader Ning really hit the mark. In that case, I won't beat around the bush. I can give you a quarter of the mobile phone, 2,000 gold coins each, but You have to give me half of the pure benefits you get in the end. Staring at Ning Fengxi blankly, Suzanne was categorical and seemed to have no room for compromise. 2,000 gold coins. It was Suzanne who set the X factory price. Although many people couldn't afford this price, it was just to cut the rich people's leaks. As for later, the price of mobile phones has always dropped over time, right? If the royal family handles this matter, it will frighten the nobles and public opinion of all parties, and the final sale price will not be too high. But if you let a businessman sell it, it will be different. Businessmen are profit heavy. Who knows how much money they will make in the end? 10,000 units. 20,000 units. In this way, the royal family gained benefits and reputation, and lost all the infamy to the businessmen. As for the latter, he happily counts the money, and doesn't care about it at all. Half of the profit, isn't that too high? It should be noted that the Kibeo glazed sect's contribution will not be small. Ning Fengxi frowned. Half is too high, otherwise it would be 4 or 6. I would be 6, and you would be 4, if it doesn't work for Sanqi. Let other families do it. I'm sure they won't refuse. So, Xian had a smile on his face and showed no intention of giving in, as if he had already convinced Ning Fengxi. No, just 50 to 50 profit. I agree. Hearing this, Ning Fengxi waved his hands quickly, feeling very anxious inside. If he refused such a big deal, he would be a fool. He was just testing Suzanne's attitude just now. A mobile phone costs 2,000 gold coins. If it sells for 6,000 gold coins, it will be a profit of 4,000 gold coins. And the Kibeo glazed sect can get 2,000. 1 unit is 2,000. 1,000 units is 2 million. 10,000 units is 20 million. If it sells more, his sect Master Ning really has a foresight. Don't worry, this is definitely a job of collecting money, not only that, there will be a lot of cooperation on this matter in the future. This is just the beginning. Suzanne replied with satisfaction. Just the beginning. Sect Master Ning's eyes narrowed. This was what he was waiting for, not just selling mobile phones. I don't know, how many mobile phones can your highness give me? And when will power supply be provided near Kibeo City? Power supply is just a small matter, and can be done in a few days. As for mobile phones, after a slight pause in her tone, Suzanne continued, I can give you 100,000 units. How many units can be sold is up to you. 100,000. Ning Fengxi's expression changed, and his smile grew stronger. It seems that the remaining 300,000 mobile phones in his highness's hands have already found a home, right? If Sect Master Ning wants them all, I can give them all to you. You can still afford 80 million, right? Suzanne replied jokingly. Your highness is really joking. 1/4 is already enough. Ning doesn't dare to be greedy for more. Ning Fengxi waved her hands quickly, and the two looked at each other, then laughed tacitly. Chapter 208 Looking to the end. Everything you want. Suzanne plans to divide the business of mobile phone sales into 4 parts. The Kibeo glazed sect, the royal family, Wuhan Palace and Shanghai Lianshan each got a share, which were sold at the X factory price of 2,000 gold coins, and the net profit was divided into 50%. In this way, he only needs to unblock network base stations and circuits to various places, and he can even deliver these things. As for Nangan Yunshan, Xuan and others, each of them was given 100 mobile phones as a gift. As for how they deal with it, that is their own business. Early the next morning, except for the farthest Shanghai Lianshan who couldn't make it, everyone else arrived at Xiao City. Suzanne is also planning to find a time to hold a meeting with everyone, tell them his thoughts, and discuss the mobile phone issue. Mobile phone sales alone cannot have great appeal to them. After all, most of the money is already in their hands. The purpose of their coming here is more for a newly born secret, namely mobile phone technology. The lack of a deep understanding of the coming era, which is beyond their control, is unacceptable. In this regard, Suzanne did not hide anything, and planned to share the technology in the mobile phone with them, and also asked people to teach them various knowledge about mobile phones. With the advent of the new era, he cannot do everything by himself. Even though he has thoroughly understood the internal programming of mobile phones and other technologies, he is still the king of technology in this world. Cutting edge scientific and technological talents are always sleeping in his system. No matter how much they learn, they are only scratching the surface point. They think they control the online world, but in fact they are controlled by me. Delegation of power is actually for the purpose of better collection of power. Ahem. I said too much. Bibidong, Zuxai, and Ningfengzi gathered together. In order not to cause conflicts, Suzanne arranged them to different villas. Zuyi, the arrogant old man, must live in villa number 2. Ningfengzi never cared about this. Villa number 3, Bibidong, both emotional and reasonable, is of course villa number 1. What, do you have any opinion? The teacher asked my senior sister to watch me practice. If you have the ability, go to the Supreme Master and challenge me. As expected, Bibidong moved into villa number 1, and then Zhu Wuji and Zhu Mingtang moved to villa number 2 to receive the education of Emperor Zuyi's love. Junior brother, tell me, how did you arrange your cell phone? Seeing Suzanne and Kan Rinxu coming to her bedroom, Bibidong raised her eyebrows slightly and said expressionlessly, "We'll talk about these things later, don't worry." Hearing this, Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly and then took out a food box from the storage ring, which was slightly steaming. "This is the food cooked by Zua. Do you like it?" With a warm smile on her face, Suzanne brought out plates of dishes. They are all simple dishes, such as crab racing, which are not too difficult, but they are all made by Kan Rinxu. Kan Rinxu did it? Looking at these dishes, Bibidong's body stiffened suddenly, and she stared blankly for a while, then raised her head. "Why, you have something to ask of me, senior sister, so soon?" With a narrow smile on her face, Bibidong looked completely flawless. If Suzanne hadn't known Kan Rinxu's identity, she wouldn't have known that she was pretending to be confused. "Well, I do have something to ask, senior sister." Suzanne nodded, and the title remained unchanged. It seemed that he was not here to show off his cards today, but just to express friendship with each other. "Tell me, what's going on?" Glancing at the chopsticks, Bibidong's eyes moved a little, but she still held it back and asked absent-mindedly, "It's like this, teacher. He has been traveling in all walks of life for many years. If he fails to catch up with Zua and I's wedding, can I ask my senior sister to take the place of teacher Su?" Xian looked at Bibidong with a smile on his face. If he had to use words to describe him, he should look like a species called a licking dog at this moment. "Wedding?" Hearing this, Bibidong was shocked in her heart. Her eyes widened, and she looked at Suzanne and Kan Rinxu in disbelief. The surprised eyes were full of shock, but there was no light of joy, as if he had thought of something sad again. "Have you told the teacher about this?" Bibidong bit her red lips and asked coldly. "The teacher said that he went to another world and won't be able to come back for a short time. Just do as I say. I'll give him a glass of wine when he comes back." Suzanne quickly replied, "Other worlds?" Bibidong's pupils shrank suddenly, and after thinking about it, it made sense. The Supreme Being is always so elusive. However, this wedding, the teacher really agrees. Looking up at Kan Rinxu and Suzanne, Bibidong had mixed feelings. "Kayang Sunji, why can your daughter marry the person she likes, but I have to live alone?" In an instant, a cold and cruel look flashed in Bibidong's eyes, and Muran had an impulse in her heart to break up the two of them in revenge. But in the end, she didn't have an attack. Instead, she took a deep breath and replied as if nothing happened, even with a smile on her lips, "If master doesn't come back, as senior sister, I will naturally go to your wedding, so don't worry." Seeing Bibidong's promise, Suzanne suddenly paused and didn't know how to continue. The other party was so impeccable. As for Kan Rinxu, she looked at Bibidong in shock. She thought she would never agree, and was even ready to fall out with Bibidong. Unexpectedly, the other party agreed so much. Did he consider his daughter, or did he simply think it was the senior sister's responsibility? Alas, seeing Bibidong showing no emotion or anger at this moment, Suzanne sighed inwardly. It seemed that the showdown would have to wait for a while, and he couldn't grasp Bibidong's emotions now. Alas, why do women suffer so much? The showdown was simple, but he had to keep the result within a reasonable range to avoid things getting worse next time. In this case, you can only rely on hard licking and become the king of dog licking. As the saying goes, dog licking, especially Suzanne brand dog licking, licks everything until the end. Isn't it delicious? Giving Xue a wink and telling her to stand still, Suzanne licked her face and said with a smile, "Senior sister, you'd better try the food made by Xue to see if it's delicious." With that said, Suzanne picked up the chopsticks and picked some for Bibi Dong and put them into the bowl. No. How can this be the end? Immediately, Suzanne picked up the bowl again and handed it to Bibi Dong's hand. "The food is a bit hot, senior sister. Please be careful." Originally, he wanted to feed 2 mouthfuls, but considering whether to sleep on the bed or the floor at night, Suzanne felt that he should not commit suicide. Seeing Suzanne being so attentive, Bibi Dong also frowned slightly, a little confused as to what he was doing. Point isn't it just that I agreed to attend the ceremony for His Majesty? Why are I so excited? But soon, Bibi Dong focused on the dishes. After hesitating for a while, she picked up a piece and put it into her mouth to taste. "Well, it tastes good. I'm happy with it." Chapter 209. Are you willing to die for her? "Tasty," she said. "It tastes good." Hearing this, Xue heart turned upside down. No matter how strong and hostile she was, her nose was sore and her throat was choked with sobs. This may be the first time in more than 10 years that she has praised herself. The first step in licking a dog is perfect. Mara Liu came to the back of her mother-in-law Bibi Dong like a dog's leg. Suzanne massaged her shoulders with both hands and said with a smile, "Of course, Xue studied this for a few days and knew that you like to eat it, senior sister." When it was over, Suzanne winked at Xue. The latter bit her pink lips, hesitated, and finally stepped forward to serve Bibi Dong a bowl of rice. Looking at the rice hanging in the air, Bibi Dong seemed to understand. She smiled bitterly, but did not take it. Turning to look at Suzanne, Bibi Dong smiled sadly. "Did the teacher tell you, or did she tell you?" Suddenly, a cold murderous intention swept through his body. Suzanne's arms stiffened, and he couldn't help but feel terrified inside. Without the protection of the mecha, he was really weak. Suzanne directly activated the Ling Ling key integrated into his body to prevent any accidents. Noting the changes in Suzanne's movements, Bibi Dong took a long breath, knowing everything in her heart. No wonder Suzanne is so attentive. It turns out that this girl Xue has been exposed. Even though she knew she was here to kill him, this guy kept her by his side, so he still wanted to marry her? While muttering to herself, Bibi Dong was also very surprised. Thinking of herself back then, she couldn't help but have mixed emotions. Once upon a time, I wasn't so stupid. I didn't listen to the teacher and fell in love with that man wholeheartedly. In the end. Otherwise, you tell me first if there is any difference, and then I will think about how to answer. Senior sister, what do you think? Suzanne said seriously, while continuing to squeeze Bibi Dong's shoulders. Hearing this, Bibi Dong did not respond. Her expression was neither sad nor happy. She seemed to be in a daze or recalling something. Thousands of emotions were mixed in his eyes, and no words could express them clearly. If you were asked to die for her, would you be willing? After a while, Bibi Dong suddenly came back to his senses and asked. The clear eyes of the gems were full of bitterness, without a trace of smile at all, as if they were being tortured. Seeing Bibi Dong's appearance, Suzanne stopped and came to Xue side. I have said many lies and lies, but what I said this time is absolutely true. With a decisive tone, Suzanne turned to look at Xue. Facing Xue's curious and expectant eyes, Suzanne slowly shook her head. I wouldn't die for her. Boom. As soon as these words came out, not only Bibi Dong was dumbfounded, but even Xue was dumbfounded. Her face turned pale, and she almost collapsed on the ground. How could he say this? Why? Gritting her silver teeth tightly, Xue's eyes were slightly red, tears welling up in her eyes, and she felt heartbroken. She couldn't believe that Suzanne would actually say this. Doesn't he love himself the most? So, you're using her, right? Word by word. Bibi Dong's eyes were blood red, and black air surged around her body, like a bloodthirsty demon. Especially the evil and weird energy on his body makes people shudder. Suzanne was certain that, if it weren't for the relationship between the Supreme Being and Bibi Dong's sanity, she would have gone berserk at this moment. Silly girl, why are you crying? Seeing Kan Rinxu actually crying, Suzanne wiped her tears distressedly. Seeing her staring blankly at him, Suzanne smiled knowingly, her eyes full of sincere tenderness. I said, we will grow old together. I will not die, and neither will you. Noticing the light emerging from Kan Rinxu's demise, Suzanne continued, for the future happiness of the two of us, I will not choose to die for you. I will try to live for you, watch your hair grow to your waist, and wear a wedding dress for me. Even if something happens in the future and someone threatens you with my life, you can't die for me. Death is a relief for the deceased, but for the living, it is a torment that is worse than death. Slowly holding Kan Rinxu's hands, letting her feel the warmth from her lover, Suzanne gave her a gentle kiss and said softly, let's not die for each other, because that's the stupidest thing to do. Either live together or die together, right, husband? Hearing this, Kan Rinxu burst into tears, and her dry heart was filled with sweet rain, almost overflowing with sweetness. Unable to restrain herself, Kan Rinxu hugged Suzanne tightly with both hands. Her red eyes were filled with tears, but her face was smiling like a child. Seeing Kan Rinxu like this, Suzanne also hugged him, with a sincere smile on his face, and he couldn't help but feel a little proud in his heart. Although Bibi Dong's question seems simple, it is extremely difficult to answer it satisfactorily. Yuki replied that he would die for Kan Rinxu. This was simply unconvincing. No matter what he said, Bibi Dong would not believe it. If she says it again, prove it to yourself, and you are really screwed. Therefore, you have to learn to think in reverse, and suppress before you want to advance. Only in this way, can there be a surprise twist, and it will be more convincing. Not only did he show his unswerving determination, he also won Kan Rinxu's tears of joy, and at the same time he also showed off his affection in front of Bibi Dong. It was really like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Alas, this is what I, Mr. Su, do. Wow. Bibi Dong was also extremely shocked. Unexpectedly, Suzanne came back with a counterattack, catching them both off guard. With a cold snort, Bibi Dong pretended to be angry and said, you are so glib, no wonder this girl is so coaxed by you. Good chance. No matter what my mother-in-law said, I'm sincere to Zua. Suzanne smiled and said seriously, people, you have to learn to climb up the pole. If you don't change your mind at this moment, who knows which muscle Bibi Dong will cramp again in the future. It seems that not only is he smooth-tongued, but he also has a shameless habit. Bibi Dong said angrily. Suzanne! Exclamation mark. Do you dare to say that being a teacher is shameless? I've written it down in my notebook, and I'll deal with you later. However, seeing that Bibi Dong did not refute, Suzanne already knew Bibi Dong's attitude. It seemed that she was also very satisfied with her son-in-law. Hey, I will not interfere with the affairs between you two from now on. Just pretend that I have never had such a daughter. You can decide your own affairs. Looking at Kan Rinxu, Bibi Dong felt a mixture of love and hate in her heart, just like the taste of Laotan pickled cabbage beef noodles, complicated and difficult to understand. She couldn't bless the two of them, nor could she separate them. In the end, she had to wave her hands and sighed helplessly. Okay, you can go about your business. I want to be alone for a while. Mother staring at Bibi Dong, Kan Rinxu didn't know how to speak. Just a call had already exhausted all her strength. Let's go. Bibi Dong's body trembled obviously. She didn't dare to be soft-hearted. Instead, her eyes swept over her, and she snorted dissatisfiedly, mother-in-law, let's leave first. Seeing this, Suzanne quickly left with Kan Rinxu, so as not to make the atmosphere tense. Bibi Dong could say this, because she had already reached the limit in her heart. Watching the two leave, Bibi Dong smiled sadly, focused on the food in front of her, and started eating slowly. The crystal tears dripped down, and were mixed in the rice, but Bibi Dong didn't seem to notice it at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Hidden Secrets from Back Then, The Big Three. Seeing that Xian Rinxu looked a little unhappy, Suzanne hugged her from behind and comforted her softly. Don't think too much about it. My mother-in-law just has a knot in her mind that she hasn't untied. It will get better later, not. Hearing this, Xian Rinxu was slightly stunned, then slowly turned around and grabbed Suzanne's arm, her eyes full of excitement and curiosity. Then can you tell me what is going on? This Suzanne hesitated for a moment. After all, this was related to Bibi Dong's reputation. If Xian Rinxu had a showdown with Bibi Dong, what if it was me who said it? You must keep it a secret. As long as you know it, you can't show it even to your mother-in-law. Remember? However, seeing Xian Rinxu begging for curiosity, Suzanne thought for a moment and thought it would be better to give Xian Rinxu some hints. Otherwise it would be easy to touch the restricted area in Bibi Dong's heart. Yeah, I understand. Seeing how cautious Suzanne was, Xian Rinxu also nodded seriously, with a sincere look on her face. Let's go back to the room and talk about it. After checking that there was no one around, Suzanne took Xian Rinxu and quickly returned to their bedroom. Then came to the bed. Do you need to be so careful? Xian Rinxu looked at Suzanne with blank eyes and said angrily. Her intuition told her that this guy wanted to take the opportunity to tease her again. He was such an old and bad guy. Seeing Xian Rinxu's disbelieving look, Suzanne screamed that he was wronged. He was really talking about business. In fact, even the vast sea universe cover and formation cannot be trusted, and they are specially chosen to be placed on the bed for the purpose of extreme privacy. Well, that's it, then. You can say it now. Seeing that Suzanne still wanted to quibble, Xian Rinxu reminded him helplessly. She is being held now, as if she is being held by an octopus. What else is there to believe in her sophistry? Suzanne nodded, and his face became serious, as if he was just holding a stone in his arms instead of a stunning beauty. That's right, it's just stone, just smooth and warm. Do you know that your mother-in-law doesn't like your father-in-law? Suzanne stared at Xian Rinxu with meticulous eyes and asked, hearing this, Xian Rinxu nodded, feeling a little sad. Since she became sensible, she has rarely seen Bibi Dong and Xian Zhenji standing together. Even if they meet occasionally, Bibi Dong's expression is extremely scary. For this reason, she also specifically asked her grandfather Xian Daoliu, but no matter how she asked, he was unwilling to tell her. Actually, my mother-in-law liked someone else back then, and that person was a loser who couldn't cultivate. Think about it. What will happen to your mother-in-law if the majestic saint of Wuhan Palace likes a loser? Why did my mother-in-law obviously dislike my father-in-law, but she ended up getting pregnant with you? Alas, after saying this, Suzanne couldn't help but let out a long sigh. In addition to the tradition of strict wife control in Douluo continent, I'm afraid there is also poignant love. Tangs and Xiao, Tang Heoyan, parting between life and death. Damu Bei and Zhu Zuking, we have been kissing each other since childhood, and they are one in life and death. Needless to say, there are 3 people including Yu Xiao Gang and Bibi Dong Oscar, and Ning Rang Grang also waited 5 years to meet. Plus Tang Chin and Bo Saixi, Xian Rinxu, Hu Lina. It can be said that love has never been smooth sailing for Douluo, and women have had even more troubles. After hearing this, Xian Rinxu's face suddenly turned pale and her lips were trembling. She couldn't believe that the truth was like this. It turns out that my father forced my mother, so she hates him so much and is so cruel to my daughter. If she knew what Xian Rinxu was thinking at this moment, Suzanne would definitely sneer at her. Force. The nature of this is really too low. It should be called rape. However, Suzanne would naturally not say this openly. After all, it was difficult for him to arrange personal secrets about his father-in-law and mother-in-law. Holding Xian Rinxu tightly, Suzanne leaned against her ear and spoke with an extremely gentle tone. So, don't hate your mother-in-law. It's not easy for her either. The pain in her heart is 10 times more than yours. You'd better keep this matter to yourself and just pretend you don't know anything. Gritting her silver teeth tightly, Xian Rinxu nodded, with lingering fear on her face, unable to believe the truth of the matter. After saying this, Suzanne did not continue, but just hugged Xian Rinxu and lay quietly. That's right, he was very honest and had absolutely no evil intentions. He just couldn't control his hands. He probably had Parkinson's disease and was always moving up and down. Point ahem. The big trouble that worried Suzanne and Qian Ringsu the most was no longer a trouble at this moment. Although Bibi Dong just said don't mix, the implication was that they would not be separated, and Suzanne was already satisfied with this. A hole has opened up in Bibi Dong's heart, and this hole will get bigger and bigger, especially since she is a part-time junior fellow student and teacher. Could it be possible that he traveled through time because of this incident? Douluo calendar year 2633, November 10th. Morning. Xiao City. Villa number 1 conference room. Point on the long negotiating table. Representatives from the 4 parties sat on both sides. One is the representatives of Xiao Technology Group in Xiao City. Zhu Bingning, Zhu Mingtang and Zhu Wuji. Point as representatives of dominant companies. The 3 of them looked unnatural at this moment and seemed a little guilty. Point especially Zhu Wuji's bruised nose and swollen face made people laugh even more. Point just because their opponents are too powerful. Point the emperor of the empire, Emperor Zhuai, the second sect in the world, the Kibao glazed sect, the sect leader Ning Fengxi, the most powerful force in the mainland, Wuhan Palace, Pope Bibi Dong. Just sitting there calmly gives people a huge pressure, like a mountain of Taiwan pressing down on top. I don't think I need to say more about the purpose of everyone coming here. Everyone knows it in their hearts, and I know it too. His eyes glanced at the 3 people, and Suzanne felt that he was not guilty at all. Seeing that the 3 people were silent, Suzanne continued, the mobile phone business is not just sales, but also internal R/U0026D, production and other technologies. I also plan to divide it into 4 parts, and we will provide you with professional technical personnel to explain to you the structure of the mobile phone, etc. in short, until you master all the in-depth technologies related to mobile phones, and you can even use machines to build mobile phones yourself. Let everyone in mainland China quickly use mobile phones. This is what the teacher means. Everyone, what do you think? Hearing what Suzanne said, Bibi Dong and the other 3 were overjoyed. They didn't expect Suzanne to be so straightforward. Ning Fengxi couldn't help but feel surprised. She didn't expect Suzanne to be so generous and use all the technology inside. Ahem. Your Highness, I don't know how to divide these 4 parts. Ning Fengxi couldn't help but ask. Point dividing it into 4 parts is likely to bring about changes in the future structure. If it can be divided into fewer parts, it will naturally be the best. Chapter 211 The Eve of the Technological Revolution. Your Highness, the Shangyan family is just a businessman's family. Doesn't this seem bad? Upon hearing that the 4th portion was reserved for Shangyang Lianshan, Ning Fengxi's face darkened, and he spoke leisurely to remind him. Ning Fengxi was not usually very angry, but he was already taking care of the Shangyan family's face with his words. If it were his boss with a hot temper, he would probably start cursing right away. Point special code. Who are the Shangyan family? They are just rotten wood decorated with money. How can they take food from their mouths? In a mere Contra family, even the only Contra was hired with money. The Shangyan family didn't even have a soul saint. Point without being polite. Just go to a title Douluo and the Shangyan family will be gone. Such an ant dares to associate with them. Your Majesty's decision is somewhat inappropriate. After all, the other party is from the Star Luo Empire. Emperor Zhu Yi couldn't help but remind him. Point even if the emperor of the Xingluo Empire were replaced and he had a share of a quarter of the cake, Zhu Yi still felt it was inappropriate. After all, it did not belong to his empire. As for the Shangyan family within the Star Luo Empire, that is even more impossible. The opponent's status is not at the same level as this. It is unreasonable to let him have a share of their skills. Well, seeing Zhu Yi and Ning Fengxi's expression so dark, Suzanne was speechless. He glanced at Bibi Dong, whose face remained motionless, and understood immediately. That's good. The technology will be shared among the 3 of you, and the Shangyan family will be responsible for the sales. After all, it has been negotiated before, and within the Star Luo Empire, it is more convenient for the Shangyan family to do it. Suzanne said quickly. Hearing this, Emperor Zhuai and the 3 of them all smiled. Immediately, a new round of strategic deployment negotiations began, including market division, remote base station construction, circuit transmission issues. A meeting involving interests lasted from morning to afternoon, and ended in the afternoon. The cooperation documents were also accompanied by the seals of all parties as quickly as they came. They left just as quickly. The three of them went back with the teams, given by Suzanne Point with 1,000 technicians per person, and various machines among them. The technological revolution in full swing was warming up in the Xiandao Empire. Relevant matters have been negotiated. Power will be transmitted from Qibao City and Xiandao City from Xiao City. It is expected that the day after tomorrow, just as he was about to send a message to the group, Suzanne thought about it and deleted it. Considering the battery level of their mobile phones, they were probably all powered off now. Wow, this doesn't feel good. Let you experience my tragic experience. When I was a student. Mobile phones are about to become popular. How can bank cards not keep up? After sending the three people away, Suzanne asked Xue Mingtang to take the team to Xianxing to apply for bank cards for users who purchase mobile phones. As for whether they are willing or not, that is not up to them. Anyway, the amount of money on the internet is not up to him. He can send out 30 million red envelopes and then change questions to make it impossible to use the wallet without a bank card. Hehe, don't be afraid that they won't apply for a bank card. Qibao glazed sect. Seeing the sect master returning with 1,000 strangely dressed people, both the inner and outer disciples were extremely surprised. Bang, bang. Then, the sect sign bell, which had not been rung for 30 years, rang, and all the Ning family disciples gathered in the main hall. Everyone looks at me, and I look at you. Everyone is at a loss. Fengxi, what happened? As cousin Ning Sansheng spoke, everyone's eyes were on Ning Fengxi. Ahem. The Qibao glazed sect has some urgent matters that need to be dealt with recently. Please cooperate with us fully. This is an order from me, the sect leader, Ning Fengxi's face was serious, but as soon as the words came out, everyone's expressions became even more confused, and Ning Fengxi didn't bother to explain. The Qibao glazed sect and Qibao City have always had only one master, and that is him as the sect leader. Starting from today, half of the Ning family members of the Qibao glazed sect must follow the arrangements of outside experts and assist them in setting up wires and base stations for each family in Qibao City. If there are people who are unwilling to let you into our house, they will be responsible for any future losses. The Qibao glazed sect will not be held responsible. Finally, the older generation of the Ning family will stay, and the others will wait to be notified of what will happen next. After watching everyone disperse, leaving only a dozen core members of the Ning family, Ning Fengxi took out 15 mobile phones. Dear clan elders, this is a treasure I brought back from His Highness Xiao City. I believe that all clan elders will be very interested in it. Ning Fengxi smiled, as if he had convinced everyone. After a while, the quiet hall, as he expected, erupted in exclamations. This thing is so magical that it can actually communicate thousands of miles away. Good boy. This group chat is so convenient. If you have something to do in the future, Feng Zhi, just tell him in the group. This is music. I didn't expect it to be put into a box. It's amazing. It's amazing. Damn it. Can you tell me how to write on it? Idiot. You're writing with longhand. Seeing that the originally serious scene turned into a vegetable market in the blink of an eye, Ning Fengxi shook her head helplessly. This mobile phone consumes a lot of power and requires network. The signal tower in my backyard can only cover. As he spoke, Ning Fengxi's face suddenly turned dark. MMP. Are you so obsessed? No one listens to what I say. Uncle Xian. Seeing that the roar was useless, Ning Fengxi turned to look at Sword Douluo, intending to let him shock everyone. However, I saw Sword Douluo holding a mobile phone in one hand, waving a sword in his right hand, and speaking plausibly. What does it mean to win without any moves? If you have no moves, how can you attack with all your strength? What does it mean that no sword is better than a sword? Seeing the introduction of the sword demon Duguki Ufi, Sword Douluo became more and more confused, as if he felt that the swordsmanship he pursued was still so shallow. In particular, the swordsmanship he pursued was still at its original sharp sword level, which shocked him even more. On the road of swordsmanship, there are actually such masters. It's really not lonely. Seeing Sword Douluo shaking his head and sighing, looking like he had an epiphany, Ning Fengzi suddenly twitched his face and swallowed the words that came to his mouth. Damn it. This phone is poisonous. Forget it. Let's wait until you wake up. I'll go to the theater next. Shaking his head and sighing, Ning Fengzi left directly, planning to wait until they sobered up before talking about the wires. Their fighting spirit is probably rising now that the power is out. The same scene was also played out in the inner courtyard of the palace and the Wuhan Hall. The power and fantastic capabilities of mobile phones are destined to be equally popular in other worlds and become the darling of the world. As the saying goes, a new storm has emerged. How can we stand still? Thanks to you, right? Square bracket 588 for the reward. Chapter 212, The Excitement in Xian City. Douluo calendar year 2633, December 1st. Everyone will remember this day because today is the beginning of a new era. The flames of an information technology revolution were burning in Xian City, Kibao City, Xingluo City, Soto City, Harjandazes City, Fasno City, etc. Xian City. Emperor Zhuai personally issued an order announcing the birth of this magical thing called the mobile phone. He also made it clear that the nobles who were the first to join the Xian noble group would have their title raised by 1 level, and if they were commoners, they would be directly granted the title of baron. As soon as the edict came out, the whole city was in an uproar. The mobile phone craze instantly detonated the whole city, and even the Duke and Marquis took action after hearing the news. Compared with the title, a mobile phone worth just 8,000 gold coins is nothing in their eyes. In front of the entertainment city, there were already overcrowded people, and 10 long lines stretched to the corner, blocking the streets. Why are you so crowded? You're attending a funeral. Have you started the previous one? You're taking so long to buy a mobile phone. Believe it or not, I'll get so angry that I'll cripple your legs. Yes, has it started yet? Hurry up, it's so scary. When it comes to titles, everyone is anxious, but there is nothing they can do. Prince Xuan has issued an order, and all nobles are not allowed to jump in line. They dare not disobey. From behind, seeing so many people at the scene, a man with a goatee and sinister eyebrows was suddenly stunned. The man is Lao He, the housekeeper of Earl Moyer's mansion, who came to buy a mobile phone. After receiving the count's order, he came immediately. Unexpectedly, there were so many people at the scene. However, as the steward of the Earl's mansion, how could he be ranked behind these untouchables? Ahem. After clearing his throat, Lao He shouted loudly, "You all get out of the way. I'm Earl Moyer's butler. I will not spare you for delaying the Earl's important affairs." Lao He raised his head and squinted his eyes, pulling his 8 beards. He looked like a bully slave, and he was worthy of being from the Earl's palace. As if thinking that everyone would get out of the way, Lao He couldn't help but feel pleased with himself. His face slightly raised, and he was full of pride. Even if he is the Earl's butler, he represents the Earl's face. Who dares not to give him some face? But when he lowered his head and opened his eyes and saw everyone staring at him as if they were stupid, Lao He was immediately confused. These unruly and untouchable people dare to stop what I said. Inverted. It's really the opposite. Furious, Lao He glanced at everyone fiercely and fumbled for a whip from behind. Oh, it turns out to be the housekeeper Lao He. Who did I think was so loud? Just when he was about to teach these untouchables a lesson, a joking and taunting voice sounded in the crowd, and Lao He was stunned. Who the hell, bastard, actually called me by my first name? Although it felt a bit familiar, the irritated Lao He didn't care at all and just yelled, okay, this is the first time that I have been called a son. A steward from the Earl's mansion actually dares to scold someone from the Marquis Nalan's mansion. Very good, Marquis Nalan. Upon hearing these 4 words, Lao He's expression suddenly froze. When he saw the old man's appearance, his hands and feet felt cold. Nalan, housekeeper? Lao He's mouth was trembling, and his face was pale, as if his soul had been pulled out. Damn it, you are the butler of the Marquis mansion, why are you queuing behind me? However, what makes Lao He despair is yet to come. A mere slave dares to be so arrogant. Do I need to give up my position to you, Marquis? Lao He's body trembled suddenly, and his eyes turned to the middle-aged man less than 10 meters away from him. He was so shocked that he bit his tongue hard with his teeth, and his face turned pale again. Lord Marquis Zhaotong, dream, must be dreaming. Shaking his head, Lao He's eyes were blood red like a madman. He couldn't believe it all. Since when does the Marquis need to line up? Aren't nobles always given priority? So, just now I asked a Marquis to make way for me. Boom. Lao He only felt weak in his legs and feet, and collapsed directly to the ground. A stream of acid water flowed out of his crotch. Seeing that Lao He was so frightened that he peed, everyone couldn't help but cover their noses, and Marquis Zhaotong was also filled with contempt. Take me down to serve you, so that you don't get unlucky here. He waved to the surrounding sergeants, who came out with 2 people, wrinkled their noses, and lifted Lao He away from here. This is just a small episode. From the beginning of the queue to the formation of a long queue, Lao was not the first, nor was he the last. But someone will always pay the price, and those who suffer are generally not good people. As time went on, the line grew longer. Walking along the long line is the city of entertainment. In front of the square, an old and tall figure stood there quietly. The old man looked very ordinary, but when he looked around, no one dared to look at him. Even the Duke had to lower his head. The atmosphere was eerily silent, with no laughter at all about buying mobile phones. Everyone was walking on thin ice, and did not dare to make any sound. Xuan, the first prince of the Xian Empire, after looking at everyone, Xuan showed no expression, and then focused on the 2 girls at the front of the team. That's right. No one would have thought that at the front of the team, there were actually 2 girls. Seeing Xuan looking at her, Xue Qinghe also nodded and said hello. There was no fear in the clear eyes. Like others, although she didn't chat much with Xuan, she knew that the other person had a kind personality, and it was easy to get along with them. Xue Yi, I'd like to see how you end this. Seeing Xue Qinghe greeting herself, Xuan couldn't help laughing, with a playful look in her eyes. The 2 girls, Xue Qinghe and Xue, have been waiting here before dawn. Xue Yi, if you have nothing to do, let me show off your smart skills in the group. The Xue family got 2 barons for nothing. Moreover, she is still a 9-year-old girl. Although he knew that Xue Qinghe had taken advantage of the situation, Xuan didn't let them leave. Whoever pretended to force him to clean up the mess by himself, he was not the one who wiped the mess. You are the girl of the Xue family, right? I wonder if I can change places with you? Just when Xuan was having fun, a middle-aged man suddenly walked up to Xue Qinghe and discussed with a warm face. As he said that, Lin Fengren glanced at Xuan, and when he saw that he didn't stop him, he breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but laugh. You give me 100,000 gold coins, and I'll exchange them with you. How about that? Seeing the empty seat in the second row, Xue Qinghe already knew that he was in the 13th place. His eyes focused, and a cunning look flashed in his eyes before he replied. 100,000 gold coins? Good. Unexpectedly, Xue Qinghe was so open-minded. Lin Fengren thought for 2 seconds and immediately agreed. 100,000 gold coins for a chance to be promoted to Duke. This is quite a deal. Maybe some people don't want to read too much about this, so I speed up the process, jump around and write, and return to the main topic of Douluo chapter 213. The boom in mobile phone sales. Sister, why did you give up your position to him? That is the title of baronet. Seeing that her sister Xue Qinghe actually agreed to give up the first place, Xue was completely incomprehensible. Even though 100,000 gold coins is a lot of money, compared to the title of baronet, it doesn't feel worth it. It is difficult to obtain a title in the empire now, and they also have their own territory. Although the Xue family is not a wealthy family, they will not exchange 100,000 gold coins for a title. You'll know later. Don't worry, you can't escape the title. Xue Qinghe lowered her voice with confidence in mind. Hearing this, Xue was also stunned, not knowing what Xue Qinghe was thinking. They are now ranked in the dozen or so. If the people in front of them buy mobile phones and join the group, their titles will have nothing to do with them. Perhaps the only one who understands Xue Qinghe's thoughts at this moment is Xuan. The order in which you buy a mobile phone is important, but understanding how to use the mobile phone is even more important. Without specific operating instructions, it would be extremely difficult for others to join the group. But Xue Qinghe, she is now among the nobles. As long as she buys this mobile phone, the title will be hers. What a smart girl, Your Highness the Prince. After a while, Nangang Qiu came back on the aircraft, which Nangang Yunshan had bought from the auction. After a brief exchange, Xuan asked the professional team who entered the information to come to the center of the square point in order to control the use of mobile phones. Everyone who purchases a mobile phone will be recorded to form a complete archive. This is Suzanne's request, and it's also a death order from Emperor Xue. Ahem. The sale of mobile phones has officially started. 10 people at a time enter the center of the square to buy, while the rest wait quietly. Seeing that everything was ready, and the 100,000 mobile phones brought from Xiao City were also moved out, Xuan looked at the time and officially announced the start point. The loud voice, exaggerated by the soul power, immediately spread throughout the street, and everyone suddenly became excited and couldn't help but squeeze forward. The sergeants guarding the square also moved slowly to make way for a 3-meter long passage. Seeing Xuan waving, the 10 people in front of him immediately rushed up. Bring me 30 mobile phones. Hurry up. I want 3 sets too. Please hurry up. Here are 16,000 gold coins. Give me 2 of them too. Sorry, the mobile phone needs to be matched to the user 121, so one person can only buy one. Oh, what? One per person? Hearing this, Lin Fengren was also a little confused, but then he came to his senses and shouted immediately, just one. Please give me your phone, please. Fill out the information form, and you also need to show your identification. But after a while, 10 people started tinkering with their mobile phones, but they all looked confused. In the end, they had to read the instructions. Seeing 10 people being driven out of the square in a daze, with the number of nobles remaining unchanged, Xue Qinghe immediately became happy and immediately stepped forward to buy her own mobile phone. Originally, 8,000 gold coins was still a huge amount of money for her, but after receiving the fee of 100,000 gold coins, that immediately changed. After receiving the mobile phone, Xue Qinghe immediately used her current mobile phone to register another questions account, and then changed her last questions account to Zhu Yao's name. Since Suzanne did not popularize mobile phone cards, questions registration was matched with the mobile phone serial number. The number of the mobile phone was the questions number. Inviting herself, Xue Qinghe immediately joined the group chat. The original group chat of 15 people suddenly had one more person. What the hell? Xue, who was waiting in the palace for all the heroes in the world to fall into the trap, was also stunned when he saw Xue Qinghe being added. Heaven down noble group, what's going on? You're not in the group. Why did you join the group again? The second prince of the empire, Xue Qinghe. They shouldn't have the same name, right? Empire's head of state, father, with the same name and surname. Not many can afford a mobile phone. Mother Yi Xiangxia, it's also Empire's head of state. Your Majesty, I'm the first to join the group. Remember to give me the title of Baronet Xue. Emperor Xue Qinghe replied with a smile, and immediately took a screenshot of the time when she joined the group, in case Emperor Xue wouldn't admit it. Xue, did you buy a mobile phone on site? Xue asked incredulously. Damn it. He was tricked by a 9-year-old girl. No wonder this little girl is asking to join the group so much. It turns out she is just to find out about my arrangements. Depend on. Hahaha. Qinghe is really smart already. Able to picture Xue's dumbfounded look, Nangang Yunshan laughed out loud and directly sent another red envelope to Xue Qinghe. Father, explain. Mother Yi Xiangxia, explain. Emperor Xue, why do I never get red envelopes? Explanation. The second prince of the empire HMPH. I won't send a red envelope to Killer either. Killer is angry. Voice, little princess, Nangang Yunshan, how do you feel? I've stirred a hornet's nest again. Mobile phone sales started in Xian City. Ning Fengxi from Qibao City also got the news and immediately started selling mobile phones the same price. 8,000 gold coins is what everyone has agreed upon and is not allowed to drop by 1 point, unlike Xiandao City, because Qibao City relies on the Qibao glazed sect and is inextricably linked to the business in the city. Everyone is very obedient to the laying of lines. Everyone. This is the latest must-have tool called a mobile phone. Not only our sect leader Ning is using it, but also Emperor Zuyi and the others are using it. If you are lucky, you might be able to chat with them, and this thing can also time, light, take pictures, and watch TV and movies. It's extremely powerful. You can see this projection for yourself, Ning Sansheng shouted, and the huge projection behind him was also showing the functions of the mobile phone. It was not a simple introduction, but a real operation point. It even connected the video interactively, projecting the scene of Xiandao City selling mobile phones and the scene played on the mobile phone interface point. In short, this is the power of mobile phones. In an instant, Qibao City also became restless, and this heat was also blooming in all directions. Since the number of mobile phones is limited, the royal family and Qibao glazed sect try their best to supply Xiandao City and Qibao City. Bibidong's side is supporting the nearby empires and provinces, and has no involvement in Xiandao City's affairs compared to the Xiandao Empire, which was well prepared. The Xingluo Empire was caught off guard by the Shanghan family. By the time the royal family reacted, the sales of mobile phones had already begun, and it was getting more and more intense, and it was faintly beyond the control of the royal family. Shanghan Lianshan was also ordered into the palace by Emperor Xianao. Chapter 214 The Star Luo Empire's Resistance. Star Luo Empire, Royal Palace. A burly figure sat on the throne, with short and long blonde hair, and strange eyes with evil light and anger, staring blankly at the sky, his face as gloomy as water. "Do you know what you are doing?" Xianai roared. If he hadn't received the secret tip, he would still be kept in the dark. Suzan did not give Zulin his mobile phone. The mobile phone was invented by the Xiandao Empire, and it was also related to the Xiandao imperial family, Qibao glazed sect, and Wuhan Palace. And Shangyun Lianshan is actually just a pawn selling mobile phones. As an emperor, Dai Xianai thinks more deeply than anyone else. If this thing were widely used in the empire, instead of secret letters, all the secrets of the empire would be known to others, because they do not have the ability to control their mobile phones. This is equivalent to having the gate of the empire guarded by others, and sooner or later it will be button point, because the news came back too late. He is now in a dilemma. If mobile phones are not allowed to be used, the empire's messaging will fall far behind, which will create hidden dangers for the empire point. And if it is used, every disturbance in the empire will be under the supervision of others, which is even more uneasy point. If it is not used, it will be a disaster. Your Majesty, my Shangyun family is just a businessman. Even if my Shangyun family doesn't sell it, others will sell it. What's more, now that the Xiandao Empire has blossomed in all directions, and even the Wuhan Palace is operating this matter, mobile phones have become a necessity of the times. Seeing Dai Xianai so angry, Shangyun Lianshan wasn't too worried. He also understood why Dai Xianai was angry point, because they go to Yun's house and don't have the ability to control mobile phones. If so, Dai Xianai might consider cooperating with their Shangyun family point. And when they go to Yun's house, why aren't they so eager for mobile phone technology? It's a pity that this thing has been divided up by 3 companies. Even the sales business of mobile phones in the Star Luo Empire was still won by him with great difficulty. The inevitable of the times. Hearing this, Dai Xianai's face became even more unhappy, and there was faint anger dancing in his eyes. "I am the emperor of the Star Luo Empire. If I want to sell mobile phones in the Star Luo Empire, I can't even think about it unless this thing is placed under the security of the empire." With a bang, Dai Xianai's face was full of sneers, and his domineering and rampant look was like a tiger roaring. Especially because he was born with strange eyes, he is even more majestic and majestic. He is already powerful when he is not angry, and even more terrifying when he is angry. "Since your majesty is like this, I have nothing to say to the Yun family, so I will stop selling mobile phones. I Just hope that your majesty can bear the pressure. After all, I'm just an errand boy when it comes to mobile phones. Seeing Emperor Xian like this, although Shangyun Lianshan was angry, he did not get angry. Feng Qinghe bowed calmly, without saying much, and Shangyun Lianshan left the palace directly. Nowadays, their Shangyun family can be considered 3 families. If Douluo city is included, then the 4 companies are the right ones. Although the status of the partners of the 4 companies is not high, they are also cooperative relationships below, and they are not weak in dealing with the Xingluo royal family. Since the royal family does not allow selling, I will listen to you. The Xingluo royal family is not awesome. Go and explain to the 4 of them. Maybe you can withstand the pressure from the 4 of them. You seeing Shangyun Lianshan directly give up his choice. Emperor Xian was also stunned and was caught off guard. His anger just now was more of a test, wanting to suppress the matter and use it as a bargaining chip to see if he could get some of the technology. Unexpectedly, Shangyun Lianshan reacted so violently and directly adopted the most extreme method, disrupting all his plans. The thought of facing Wuhan Palace, Qiandao Empire, Kibao Glazed Sect, and Douluo City at the same time. Even though he was the emperor of the Luo Empire, his face kept twitching, and he couldn't help but feel frightened. Come here, please invite Mr. Zhu into the palace, Emperor. Xian shouted hurriedly, and couldn't help but become a little anxious in his heart. On the other side, Shangyun Lianshan had just left the palace, and had already contacted all the main members of the Shangyun family through his mobile phone, asking them to stop selling mobile phones. At the same time, the affairs of the Luo Empire were also posted to the group chat of Mainland Heroes Day. Xian is so funny. He actually opposes something that is conducive to the progress of the times. In the garden, Emperor Zhuai, who was receiving all kinds of flattery and worship from the imperial subjects in the group, was filled with indignation when he saw the news from the Mainland Heroes group and directly condemned him. Wahahaha. But in fact, Emperor Zhuai was happy in his heart. He wished that Emperor Xian would work hard to die, so that the strength of the Xiandao Empire could gain the upper hand. Oh, what? The unified enemy is Wu Hundian. He doesn't care about this now. Anyway, Pope Bibidong is his son's senior sister. Even if there was a fight, without looking at the monk's face or the Buddha's face, with the supreme being covering them, their side of the Xiandao Empire would be extremely safe. In the Luo Empire, mobile phones must be popularized. This is not only his will, but also the will of the 4 families and the supreme being. Whoever stands in his way will die. Suzan naturally also received the news from Shangyun Lianshan, and he had nothing to say about it. Anyone who dares to block the progress of the times will die. If they fall behind, they will be beaten. For the future of the Luo Empire, he must let them learn to make progress. Finally put all their money into his own pocket. Anyway, you can communicate about mobile phone matters in the group at any time. Suzan has nothing to do recently, so he can take advantage of this time to go out and play. Zua, let's go on a trip to the Luo Empire. Suzan shouted. Travel? Are you traveling to the Luo Empire? Seeing Suzan's malicious look, Conspiracies couldn't help but smile. Of course I'm going on a trip. Do you think I'm going to cause damage? Suzan replied sternly. As a nuclear enthusiast, he has always been kind to others. He always does things down to earth, and is definitely the most honest kid in the world of time travel. Believe it or not, I'm going to pack my things. Conspiracies couldn't help but roll her eyes at Suzan, and then left directly. Suzan, do I look so unlike a good person? Chapter 215. Let's listen first and talk later. As the old saying goes, if you are dissatisfied, you should convince others with reason. One day later, that is, one night later, Suzan brought Conspiracies to Luo City, Luo Empire. Over Xingluo City, a black spaceship parked alone in the sky. The palace suddenly felt like it was facing a formidable enemy. Even Emperor Xian appeared outside, looking at the spaceship in the sky with curiosity in his eyes. Bang! Suddenly, a sunspots box fell from the spacecraft. The magical female voice rang out from inside the box, and it was catchy. Emperor Xian, don't hide in the palace and keep silent. I know you are at home. You are capable of robbing men, but why can't you open the door? You have the ability to rob a man. You have the ability to open the door. Don't hide in there and keep silent. I know you are at home, everyone, looking for a man. Upon hearing this, Emperor Xian's face immediately turned green. Someone, knock this thing down for me. Such a shame and humiliation is unbearable. Emperor Xian roared angrily. Your Majesty, wait. Hearing this, Zulin stopped him immediately. Elder Guo, Emperor. Xian looked at Zulin in surprise. If it had been anyone else, he would not have listened to this. Since it was Zulin who spoke, no matter how angry he was, he finally endured it. Ahem. After giving a slight salute to Emperor Xian, Zulin stood up, cleared his throat, and then shouted loudly to the spacecraft. Since you are His Highness the Xiandao Empire, why don't you come down and meet me? Wouldn't it be too rude to intrude into our Star Luo Empire like this? At the end of the sentence, Zulin's tone became colder. He looked at the black box not far away and smashed it to pieces with a wave of his hand. Your Highness the Xiandao Empire, Emperor. Xian frowned slightly, and his expression became serious. The last conflict between the two armies at the border was related to this person. Dai Yuheng and Wang Wudi were also defeated by him. The entertainment city auction that shocked the mainland was also his work. The mysterious disciple of a peerless strongman and the leader of the cell phone matter. To put it bluntly, Suzan has now become a man of the hour across the continent. And even Emperor Xian has to take it seriously. Even though he is only 15 years old. Manzu, I'm not here to see you this time. I want to give you a gift. A misty voice sounded, and then from the sky, something like a cone-shaped tube slowly fell down, with a parachute above its head. Bang. There was a slight collision sound, and the object fell on the ground not far away. What you see is a cylindrical shape 6 to 7 meters high, with a pointed upper part and a rounded lower part. The whole body is covered with metal, and there are faint magic patterns flashing around it. It looks extremely mysterious. Your Highness, I wonder what this means. Looking at the level 9 fixed soul cannon in front of him, Zulin's eyelids trembled suddenly, and he told him directly that this thing was very dangerous. It's nothing, just a gadget. Feng Qinghe's voice sounded again, and a silver light flashed in the air, and finally landed in front of the two of them. You can take a look at the picture above, which is caused by this thing. When you think about it clearly, we can continue to discuss the mobile phone. By the way, I'll give you a piece of advice. This thing is unstable, and it's best not to touch it. If it explodes, I won't be responsible for it. After saying this, Suzanne took Kan Ringsu and left, and the spaceship disappeared in a flash like a white horse passing through the gap. Seeing Suzanne leave like this, Emperor Xian and Zulin were confused, and told them directly that there must be big trouble inside. Since the other party is here, because of the mobile phone, he will definitely not give up so easily. Boom. Suddenly, the two seemed to understand something, and looked at the 9th level fixed soul cannon not far away. As if he felt the light and shadow changing in front of his eyes, Emperor Xian slowly picked up the tablet on the ground, and saw a picture being played on it. The same cylindrical object with a pointed top and a rounded bottom slowly fell from a high altitude and hit the ground together. Boom. Suddenly, a huge mushroom cloud rose up, as red as the scorching sun. The strong shock wave rolled away, and the tall buildings in front of it were torn into pieces, as if they were turned into tofu. Even people were swallowed up and torn apart by the giant flame beast, dissipating like air currents. The scene turned and reached the sky. Amidst the thunderous roar, the huge city was covered in smoke and dust. The buildings were smashed into powder like sand, and the dust rose. When the smoke and dust dissipated, the world-destroying scene completely frightened Emperor Xian and Zulin. The prosperous city was burned down in an instant, with ruins and ruins, filled with flames, and no trace of integrity. This is true within a radius of 10 kilometers. The picture is an atomic bomb explosion scene. Please borrow it this. Seeing such a scene, Emperor Xian and Zulin's hands and feet felt cold. Their eyes were focused on the 9th level fixed soul cannon not far away, and cold sweat instantly wet their backs. Is this thing so destructive? Afternoon point under the friendly and sincere invitation of Emperor Xian, Suzan brought Qin Rinxu to the Xiandao Empire Palace, accompanying him with Shanghai and Lianshan, but compared to yesterday's frustration, he was now more confident. Alas, I know that your majesty, you are not good at arm wrestling. If you had known that peace talks were going to happen now, why did you insist on pretending yesterday? Are you happy to be slapped in the face now? I have heard for a long time that the eldest son of Emperor Zhuai is so handsome that he is a dragon and a phoenix among men. When I see him today, he is indeed worthy of his reputation. Just like meeting an old friend, Emperor Xianniao had a warm smile on his face, without any anger at all. There was nothing he could do, even with the knife on his neck, he didn't dare to get angry. After giving Emperor Xianniao a bored look, Suzan took Qin Rinxu and sat down across the negotiation table, while Shangyun Lianshan sat beside him. First, the Star Luo Empire can no longer obstruct the mobile phone matter. Second, the Star Luo Empire must compensate me for running errands, property damage, labor costs, and brain cell death costs, totaling 100 million gold coins. Suzan said straightforwardly. Although the words are scornful, every word is heartbreaking. What? Daishian and Zulin's expressions also changed greatly, and sparks could be faintly seen jumping in their eyes. Their non-interference in the mobile phone matter is already the biggest concession. Actually, you still need to pay 100 million gold coins? Damn it. This is when they are trying to be soft. Damn your property damage fees and brain cell death fees. This is naked blackmail. Is it possible that they really think that the Xiandao Empire is easy to bully? I still have a dozen of those things here. How about we listen to them first and continue talking later? Seeing that Daishian and Daishian were so unaware, Suzan shook his head and discussed it nicely. The faces of Daishian and Daishian were extremely dark. God, why don't you hear a sound? Does this mean you hear a sound? MMP. Chapter 216. A man who has been hurt by the system. Based on the principle of peaceful exchanges and common progress, Emperor Xiannian Zulin agreed to the conditions proposed by Suzan. During the farewell, the two were in high spirits and showed no pretense at all. Woohoo, this lunatic has finally left. They really cannot bear the power of the 9th level fixed soul cannon. However, when they saw Suzan leaving, the two of them started to say greetings such as fuck you and fuck you. 3 or 2 simple words fully reflect the breadth and depth of Chinese culture without the obstruction of the Star Luo Empire. The trend of mobile phones in the Star Luo Empire is no worse than that in the Xiandao Empire. In just 3 days, 100,000 mobile phones were sold out. Since the Star Luo Empire has few circuit construction, signal towers, and base stations, there are also scenes that make people laugh or cry on the streets. A large number of people seem to have a tacit understanding surrounding the signal tower, playing with their mobile phones tacitly. Among them are nobles, as well as civilians and wealthy businessmen. The high barriers of strict hierarchy have been flattened in the face of technology. Ha ha ha. I just grabbed a red envelope of 30,000 gold coins from the Star Luo nobles. I'm truly lucky. Damn it. Your Excellency, the L is truly blessed. I just robbed you of 300 gold coins. I'm envious, Lord Earl. I wonder if we can join that group. That's a group of nobles. Although your status is a bit low, but since you have mobile phones, I will drag you in. Heh. Thank you very much, Earl. Do you think we should set up a group so that everyone can have a good time? Ahem. I have a video with that kind of connotation here. How can you talk to me about this kind of thing? Ahem. Let's borrow one to talk. Hey. With the popularity of online group chats, there are countless pretenders and sluts in the group, and all of them have become talents. Looking at the group chat inside, Suzan even thought that he had not traveled through time at all. The familiar feeling from the earth was always in front of him. As time went by, more and more people gathered in the original Xiao city, especially businessmen. Xiao city produces a large number of electrical appliances every day, such as fans, air conditioners, pressure cookers, etc., which are shipped to other continents through merchants. 3 railway lines depart from Xiao city and connect Keibao city, Qiandao city and Wuhan city. High-speed rail has also begun to travel in other worlds. Everything is moving towards modern civilization at a very fast speed. Time, in the blink of an eye, came to the second month. Tonight is another heart-pounding moment. Suzanne was lying alone on the grass on the roof of the villa, looking at the stars in the sky, secretly praying for good luck in everything he did. System, there won't be any trouble this time. Right, my heart won't be able to bear it anymore. I might drag you to death with me, Suzanne said angrily with a dull look on his face. Last month, he waited for a month and finally waited until the system was refreshed. The result made him call MMP. What? The product is not good. No, no, no. His eyes were red and he wished he could buy them all. But, damn it, he can't afford it. That's right. He is worth 900 million gold coins, but he can't afford it at the exchange rate of 1 to 10,000 gold coins. Can you believe it? The product list is as follows. Pretend to slap the system in the face. Emperor Myth Summoning System. The most powerful training and upgrade system. The prehistoric copy system. Unlimited beauty harem system. Yes, you read that right. The product in the last issue was actually his system. The currency to buy is not gold coins, but star coins. Star coins, in short, is an ordinary world ownership equals 1 star coin. Wow. The gratitude system was so powerful, Suzanne wanted to drag it out and give it a beating. MMP, knowing that I can't afford it, you still bring it out to tempt me. As long as you have some artificial intelligence, you can't do such stupid things. Even if he conquers Douluo world, he can't sell it to exchange for star coins. The products refreshed by the system all depend on the luck of the host and cannot be controlled by the system. We apologize for any inconvenience, Xian. If forgiveness is useful, why do we need prisons and police? System, you are forcing me to conquer all realms. Suzanne was extremely helpless when all the gold coins in Douluo world are spent by him. The only thing waiting for him will be to plunder from other worlds. Or, you can just stay in Douluo world and not go anywhere, or 1,000 years. That's okay. 100,000 years. He can also endure loneliness a million years. Otherwise he should just die, right? Compared to the latter who has been staying in Douluo world, Suzanne would rather go to other worlds for a walk, not seeking to be invincible, but just looking for something new. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being invincible, by the way. Blinking his big eyes, Suzanne said with an innocent face, System, how about I give you 100 million gold coins, and you let me go through the back door and select some products in advance. What do you think? System, you're going through the back door. I've explained a lot here, so I can't tell which one it is. Seeing the system's silence, Suzanne finally accepted his fate. Alas, I'd better wait for the system to refresh the products. Midnight, 12 o'clock. It was still this familiar time of year, and Suzanne held his breath, waiting for the system interface in front of him to refresh. Bloodline products. After seeing the introduction, Suzanne finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't words like prehistoric, myth, covering the sky, and system. Otherwise he would really have to sit on a golden mountain and cry. Pangu. Authentic bloodline. 100 million star coins. Xian. Suddenly I wanted to be quiet again. After secretly greeting the system creator's relatives, Suzanne calmed down and continued reading patiently. Undead. Bloodline. 30 million star coins. Bloodline of the Demon King. 3 million star coins. Ancestral Dragon Bloodline. 8 million star coins. System, please block all the things purchased with star coins from me. Suzanne gritted his teeth. If he continued to look like this, he was afraid that he would have another heart attack and sooner or later the system would piss him off. The products purchased with star coins have been deleted, and the host can check them by themselves. Suzanne's mouth twitched sharply when he saw that the menu that originally had more than 10 pages was reduced to 3 pages in a blink of an eye, and the total was only 30 MMP. He is just a poor man. Why should he be treated as a garbage collector when he is served an expensive menu? Xian. Blood, 5 million gold coins. Phoenix. Bloodline, 8 million gold coins. Dragon God Bloodline, 100 million gold coins. Golden Behemoth Bloodline, 80 million gold coins. The Bloodline of the Supreme Blood Clan. 300,000 gold coins. Xian. Damn it. It costs so much money to pick up trash. System. Isn't Behemoth an alien species from the ancient times? Why can it be purchased with gold coins? Xian asked in confusion. Species that appear in the host's native world will be measured by the main currency of this world, not star coins. The price of Douluo bloodline is on the high side, because it is no longer possible to measure the dragon god bloodline with gold coins. Star coins are more suitable, so there are hundreds of millions of units, which is trillions. Sorry for any discomfort. Thanks to Smile Fanxing for the 6,000 gold coin reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Fusion of Emerald Swan Bloodline. Considering the number of gold coins, Xian did not throw all the gold coins in, but only purchased 4 bloodlines. First, the Dragon God bloodline is considered the strongest bloodline in the Douluo continent. This is naturally nothing to say. The second is the Golden Behemoth bloodline, which matches Xian's external soul bone, and presumably can stimulate the evolution of the Dark Gold Fear Claws. Third, the Emerald Swan bloodline. There is no way. The level of the Swan martial spirit is too low. It must be upgraded. Otherwise it will be embarrassing. Finally, there is the Angel bloodline, which is prepared for Xian. Although she is a descendant of the Angel God, the blood in her body may no longer be pure, especially after joining Bibidang's bloodline, whose martial spirit is full of evil factors. Although the high quality martial arts of her parents allowed Xian to obtain the Seraphim martial spirit, there must be some flaws in it, and even the inheritance of the divine throne in the later period would be affected. Of course, this is just Xian's inner speculation, and there is no conclusive evidence. Every time, you can only buy things at this time, right? Just when Xian was stunned, a soft female voice suddenly rang out, and she walked over slowly wearing a thin silk pajamas, with a peaceful smile on her face. The soft silk robe highlighted Xian's tall and graceful figure, and the sight of her graceful curves made Xian's heart become extremely hot. "Aren't you are sleepy yet?" He hugged Xian's waist, and pulled her into his arms. Feeling the warm fragrance and jade in front of him, Xian felt relaxed and happy in his heart. "I don't know why, but I can't sleep now. If I sleep alone." Looking up at Xian, Xian's eyes were full of tenderness and sweetness under the autumn water. Coupled with that noble and holy face, it was really attractive. "Didn't you like me holding you to sleep before?" Xian couldn't help laughing, kissed Xian's forehead slightly, and replied, "You win." "Okay." Xian's face turned red with embarrassment as she raised her eyes slightly with white eyes. "Really?" Xian raised the corner of his mouth slightly and couldn't help but be in awe. "Don't make trouble." A surge of electricity surged into his body. Xian's body trembled suddenly and she immediately fell off Xian's body in fright. "You dress like this to stop me from making trouble. Aren't you making trouble?" Xian argued. Spit. Xian spat angrily. Her face suddenly turned red, and Qiushu's eyes flashed with joy inadvertently. Seeing Xian's shy look, Xian waved his hand and took out the angel blood. It was a strong white light. Even though it was right in front of him, Xian couldn't see the scene inside, but he could vaguely feel the liquid flowing. "This is?" Feeling that her blood was boiling, as if she was jumping for joy, Xian's pupils shrank suddenly. From this white light, she felt a sense of intimacy, as if something was calling her. "This is pure angel blood. Although you are a descendant of an angel, your blood is too thin," Xian explained. "Angel blood!" Exclamation mark. Xian was confused, and an inexplicable surprise suddenly came to her heart. It turned out that she was of angel blood. No wonder he felt so kind to her. "Is this for me?" Xian asked, her rosy face full of anticipation and her eyes sparkling. "Whether I give it to you or not depends on your performance tonight." Xian touched Xian's mouth and said with a meaningful smile. Suddenly, Xian's face Felt like cooked meat, so hot that it was almost steaming. You'd better change your conditions. If you think about this again, I won't want anything from you in the future. With her head lowered almost to her small breasts, Xian Mingsu huddled next to Suzanne, her heart beating faster and faster, ready to cry out. Is it so hard to kiss me? Suzanne felt very heartbroken. She clutched her heart tightly and said, I didn't expect you to be so heartless. It's so difficult for you to even kiss me now. Kiss you, just this condition? Hearing this, Xian Mingsu's brain suddenly became confused, and her face became more and more rosy. Okay, you did it on purpose. However, looking at Suzanne's poor acting skills, Xian Mingsu, who was confused, immediately understood and used her famous stunt to pinch the soft flesh around Suzanne's waist point. Suddenly, Suzanne's body froze. Ahem. I said I was wrong. Could you not do it? Suzanne blinked his eyes innocently, and Suzanne said, as if begging for mercy, I said my hands don't work. Do you believe it? Xian Mingsu smiled harmlessly. Suzanne, I believe you as a ghost. Hiss. It hurts. It hurts. Please stop pinching. Do you still want this bloodline? Believe it or not, I won't give it to you. If you have the ability, can you say it again? Xian Mingsu narrowed her eyes slightly and said coldly, oh how I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'll give it to you. A few minutes later, Suzanne's expression suddenly froze when he saw Xian Mingsu hiding far away from him. Why is he so scared? Is he so angry that he will retaliate? Everyone in Xiandao City knows about my young master's character. Douluo, I know. You Xianmin, I know it too. Meng Shenji, needless to say, I don't know what his character is. I won't eat you. Suzanne glared at Xian Mingsu angrily and threw angel bloodline directly over. I don't know you yet, so I won't give you a chance to take revenge. After receiving the angel bloodline, Xian Mingsu made a face at Suzanne, then skipped away, leaving Suzanne helpless. Alas, people's hearts are not ancient. Shaking his head and watching Xian Mingsu leave, Suzanne took out the emerald swan blood and began to integrate it into his body. A scorching temperature suddenly hit the meridians. Fortunately, Suzanne's body had been baptized by the immortal herbs, so it was nothing serious. Aha! The wings on Suzanne's back also spread out in an instant, and a shadow of a snow white swan could be vaguely seen outside her body, but the wings were pale gold, revealing a noble look. The energy of the emerald swan's bloodline suddenly became gentle, sweeping over the whole body like flowing water. A pleasant itching sensation came from the wings on his back, and a cyan light enveloped Suzanne, as bright as a pearl in the night. This feeling was very refreshing, and Suzanne also enjoyed it, as if his soul had been sublimated. I don't know how long it took, but the cyan light converged and everything became calm. The originally light golden actually became transparent. The two colors of cyan and light gold intersected transparently, and the feathers became as dazzling as crystals. The cyan one should be of the emerald swan bloodline, and the pale golden one should be of the green dragon bloodline. Noticing the changes in the wings, Suzanne seemed to understand. No wonder the two soul bones repelled each other last time. Their relationship met their match. However, it seems that the Qinglang bloodline was lost to the behemoth bloodline, and was expelled to the wings. The dragon, on the other hand, disappears and appears in flight, with no trace to be found. This is also the reason why it disappears in the air when fighting. Chapter 218 Sweet Daily Life. Although the wings had changed and looked a little fragile, Suzanne felt that the wings had become stronger, especially the limbs and bones of the body, which are moisturized by a warm current, feel refreshed. After all, the emerald swan is the strongest healing soul beast, and most of the benefits it brings to Suzanne are related to healing. Suzanne's striking sky wing name, a peregrine falcon wing with attached soul bone, contains only one soul bone skill point. It's called Sky Strike, and it can fall violently at several times the speed of normal flying, and its speed can exceed that of an agility attack type soul master, one step above itself. For soul masters who are not of the agility attack type, they cannot react in time. I'm afraid that with Suzanne's speed, the Soul Emperor who is not the agility attack type may not be able to dodge. With the transformation of the Emerald Swan's bloodline, the skills attached to the soul bones are also changing. In other words, they are not skills, but only self-included effects. When the externally attached soul bone is attacked, it can convert the attack into healing life energy and feed it back to itself. Xian originally had the swan martial spirit, and his second soul skill was called healing. Now with the blessing of his bloodline, the effect of his soul skill has been greatly improved. It can restore soul masters of the same level to 70% of their normal state in the blink of an eye, as long as the opponent is not dead or poisoned. This perverted ability is like cheating. Looking at his crystal clear wings, Xian thought for a while and took out the bloodline of Golden Behemoth. It was a ball of bright golden light, and the golden liquid inside glowed with a metallic luster. It twisted and deformed, as if it contained powerful explosive energy. As soon as it appeared, waves of heat rushed towards Xian. After thinking for a while, Xian injected 1/3 of his blood into the metacarpal bone of the dark gold terra claw. Boom. The dark golden terra claws then emitted a bright golden light, like a polished light bulb. Moisturized by the powerful energy, Xian even felt like he couldn't control the trembling claws. Then, a stream of golden air-like energy left the metacarpal bone of the dark gold terra claw and spread along the meridians towards the surrounding body. Fuck. A sharp pain came over him instantly, like a knife and an axe being struck. Xian's face suddenly turned pale as water, and he fainted from the pain. Time came to the next day in the blink of an eye. Water after. Waking up in a daze, Xian looked at the hazy vision, and felt his mouth was dry. It was as if the throat had become a dry and wrinkled field, and you could feel the friction and roughness of the sand swallowing in your throat at the slightest movement. A gentle and refreshing feeling of moisture came over him. Xian subconsciously licked his tongue and sucked it very quickly. Then, he slowly closed his eyes again. All the limbs on Xian's body seemed to be burnt, except for the main parts of the body such as the head and abdomen. If you didn't still see traces of flesh and blood in other parts, you would have thought they were all turned into scorched earth. Dots of green light surged through Xian's body, with his heart and head at their peak, and his limbs shining slightly. But under this green light, Xian's wounds were slowly growing new skin. Seeing Xian's appearance on the bed, Xian was heartbroken, with tears gushing down her weak and helpless face like a stream. The originally bright and beautiful face also became a little haggard, and her eyes were dim and lifeless. If she hadn't noticed that Xian was recovering, she would have gone crazy at this moment. You idiot, you don't know how to take your time. The choking sounds continued intermittently. Xian looked at Xian, feeling really angry and anxious inside. The deep fear made her hesitate. She couldn't imagine what she would do if Xian suddenly had an accident. Time flies. Half a month later. No. Need to do this. I can do it. Seeing Xian blowing the soup thoughtfully, her small mouth as bright as jade, bright red and soft, Xian's face turned slightly red, and she raised her right hand slightly. Do not move. Seeing Xian's actions, Xian suddenly became furious, as if her tail had been stepped on. She bared her teeth and looked as fierce as a tigress. Xian trembled inwardly and slowly lowered her arm. Seeing this, Xian's expression calmed down, and she took a spoonful of soup and handed it over. Open your mouth. His tone suddenly became extremely soft and gentle, as if he was coaxing a child, which made Xian laugh inwardly. However, it feels really good to be taken care of by someone, especially my little wife. Following all Xian's arrangements, Xian enjoyed this wonderful time to the fullest. Sometimes, Xian would push him in a wheelchair and take him to bask in the sun. Sometimes, she would take him to play in the garden. I would take him to the bathroom every night and wipe his body for him. All in all, Xian sits in a wheelchair every day and doesn't need to do anything except quietly recuperate. The energy of Golden Behemoth's bloodline was so overbearing that, even if Xian's body was modified with fairy herbs, 1/3 of the bloodline could not stand it at all. If it weren't for the counterbalance of some Azure Dragon bloodline, plus the healing and protective effect of the Emerald Swan bloodline, Xian would have died by now. After eating some 9th grade Ganoderma lucidum grass, although the rest of his injuries were basically healed, all the meridians in his limbs were destroyed, and he was still not fully healed. At this moment, the meridians in his body were slowly destroyed by the Golden Behemoth bloodline, and at the same time, repaired by the Emerald Swan bloodline. These three energies were still at a stalemate. The martial spirit cannot be used. Due to the complex energy impact, Ling Linky and the body also lost contact. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sitting in a wheelchair right now. Point in a word, it's really unlucky. I'm so lucky. My little daughter-in-law is amazing. If he hadn't been injured, she wouldn't have known that Xian Ringsu had such a cute side. A little daughter-in-law lives up to her name. Suzanne couldn't help but feel lucky when he thought that he had only used 1/3 of the golden behemoth bloodline point. If he had used it all stupidly, he would have really met the king of hell at this moment. What are you so stupid about? Why don't you drink the soup? Seeing Suzanne's silly smile, Xian Ringsu pouted and shouted angrily, drink now, drink now. Suzanne opened her mouth with a smile. Seeing Xian Ringsu feeding her considerately, Suzanne almost burst into laughter. This medicine must not be stopped. He can still lie down for hundreds of years. So sweet, as if she had eaten honey. Suzanne couldn't help moaning, which made Xian Ringsu blush with embarrassment and glare back angrily. Chapter 219 Return to Xian City. A week later, the golden behemoth bloodline was smoothly integrated into the body, coordinating with the emerald swan bloodline. The behemoth bloodline is integrated into the heart and is stronger than the limbs. The emerald swan bloodline is dispersed in the limbs and gathered in the 5 internal organs. One controls the outside and the other controls the inside. Seen from inside the body, Suzanne's heart at this moment looks a bit like the exquisite heart with 7 orifices. Colorful and colorful, crystal clear in the rooftop swimming pool. Suzanne leaned against the pool, enjoying the long lost sunbathing. She couldn't move for many days and her body was almost stiff. Although Xian Ringsu wiped his body every day, there were some places, just don't say it. All in all, he needs to relax now, otherwise he won't even know that this body is still his. Father just said that the Soul Master competition is about to start. Let's go back to Xian City. My mother heard that you were injured and was very worried about you. Xian Ringsu reminded. Xian Ringsu was seen wearing a white thin skirt, sitting by the water like a fairy, with her perfect jade feet immersed in the water, swaying and playing in the water, looking graceful. The beautiful face is full of smiles, her eyes are bright and radiant, and there are drops of water on her body. The beauty comes out of the bath, delicate and charming. A pair of jade hands slapped and massaged Suzanne's shoulders, moving his muscles and bones. Yeah. Suzanne responded softly, leaning on Xian Ringsu's legs. He has no interest in the Soul Master competition at all. This is not to bully the children. However, it's okay anyway. I can go back and take a look. After the finals of the Soul Master competition, I will accompany you to inherit the angelic throne. Suzanne couldn't help but say, hearing this, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but be stunned. Why did you think of accompanying me to inherit the divine throne? What are you planning to do? Xian Ringsu asked quickly. Her current soul power is only at level 55. It is quite risky to inherit the divine throne with this strength. However, if Suzanne goes with him, it can be said that there will be no accidents. Originally, she planned to wait until she reached the Soul Saint level before going there, but seeing Suzanne like this, her mind couldn't help but become active. Since he opened his mouth, he thought it would not be without purpose. He must have his own considerations. After all, he is a lazy person, and he will not think about what he thinks. It's just to deal with some things. So I want to improve your strength so that I can eat soft food with peace of mind. Suzanne replied sternly. With the appearance of star coins, Suzanne felt more and more that he would travel to other worlds. Well, everyone who travels to the world of novels will probably encounter such routines. For safety reasons, Suzanne felt that it was necessary to improve Xian Ringsu's cultivation level. Although the gods in Douluo are not particularly strong, but they can barely make do. You are the first person to take it so naturally to eat soft rice. Xian Ringsu covered her mouth and smiled. Her smile seemed very sincere, without any hint of contempt. I can't help it. The soft rice tastes so delicious. Xian replied seriously, then scratched the soles of Xian Ringsu's feet and said with a wicked smile, "Do you think I'm right?" Aha. Xian Ringsu subconsciously retracted her feet. Her face flushed, as if coaxing a child, and she helplessly replied, "Okay, you're right. Is this okay?" That's pretty much it. Then you can come down and wash up too. Suzanne pushed Xian Rinxu's leg, her face full of anticipation. Xian. Rinxu was stunned for a moment, but finally did not refuse. After a soft response, she obediently slid into the pool and leaned next to Suzanne. Suzanne was immediately stunned. This time, are you so obedient? Sure enough, injury is the best weapon to conquer the woman you love. Suzanne seemed to have discovered a great avenue in the world. No, I can still stay in a wheelchair for 10 days and a half. I hope no one will actually practice it. I played around with Xian Rinxu for a while. As for the extent of the play, I can't describe it in words, so I won't mention it for now. After putting on a white dress and looking at her short golden hair in the mirror, Suzanne always felt a little awkward. It's easy to get slapped with this thing when you go out on the street. It's too damn like gold, and it's too damn worthy of being slapped. Suzanne's hair was originally black with light blonde, but now it's all golden. I feel like you look much more handsome now than before. Xian Rinxu tidied Suzanne's clothes thoughtfully. Looking at his appearance at this moment, Xian Rinxu's cheeks felt a little hot. Originally, Suzanne's appearance was extremely handsome, but with the blood of the emerald swan, he looked full of holy and warm beauty. Her skin also became smoother and more delicate, as white as pure jade. Even she couldn't help but want to reach out and touch it sometimes. Why? Are you blushing? You've taken care of me for so many days, and haven't you seen enough? Seeing Xian Rinxu's shy look, Suzanne pinched her cheek and joked with a smile. I really haven't seen enough. Xian Rinxu smiled and nodded. Suzanne, damn it, you female hooligan. Believe it or not, my family will take care of you. There was nothing going on in Xiao City. Suzanne left the matter to her cousin Zubining, and then took Xian Rinxu on the high-speed train to Xiandao City. Xiandao City is very close to Xiao City, and it takes less than half an hour to get there. If it were before, the carriage would stop and go, and it would take at least half a day to get there. Xiandao City has also changed a lot at this moment. The notices at the city gate have been replaced by screens, and electric lights have been installed on the streets. If the architecture and clothing were not still in ancient forms, it would really look no different from Earth. Noticing a figure walking past in a hurry, Suzanne raised his eyebrows and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Old poison. If you run away again, I will freeze your questions and bank cards. Without saying anything, Suzanne sent a message directly. Seeing the message on the phone, the figure in front of him suddenly twitched his mouth and stopped immediately. Freeze bank card and questions. Damn it, they are my life now. Your Highness, I didn't expect you to come back. It seems that I'm very lucky. Douluo. Bo turned around happily and walked over. If not for seeing him leaving quickly, Suzanne would have believed his acting skills. Seeing Douluo, who looked like a young man and was extremely handsome, Suzanne seemed to believe that the cartoon was not wrong. However, this guy's really narcissistic. He posts his beautiful photos in the space every day, as if he is afraid that others will not know that he has taken the potion of immortality. With the advent of the internet age, everyone is changing, including Douluo and even Bibidang. Suzanne could clearly feel that her relationship with Xian Rinxu had eased a lot, probably because of the influence of the family ethics drama. The things I recommend must be good. Chapter 220. Suzanne, I'm not welcome. Sister, you are too cowardly. You just killed someone. Look, I scared you. Sister, this person can suddenly stand up after death. It's so scary. It's quite scary. If you don't know better, you might think it's a fake corpse. After bringing Xian Rinxu to the harem, Suzanne was startled when she heard the voices of 3 women coming from inside before entering the palace. Damn it. Our palace battles developing so rapidly now. In broad daylight, there is a queen and 2 concubines, and the location is still in the queen's palace. Wait. There seems to be someone outside the door again. Get ready, let's come in and kill them one by one. Suddenly, Nangang Ling's voice sounded, and the palace suddenly became quiet. Suzanne, so, should I go in or not? Suzanne swallowed subconsciously and turned to glance at Xian Rinxu, who also had a strange expression on his face. Ahem, mother, I'm back. After straightening her clothes, Suzanne knocked on the closed door of the palace and tried her best to put a smile on her face. "Your Majesty," there was an explosion of exclamations, followed by panicked footsteps, and the door was pushed open. Suzanne subconsciously pulled Xian Rinxu 2 steps back to avoid being accidentally injured. Nang Gongling was also extremely excited when she saw Suzanne. Her face was like a flower in bloom. However, thinking of Suzanne leaving without saying a word, Nang Gongling's face hardened, and she couldn't help but sneered. "You stinky brat, you finally know you're back." With that said, Nang Gongling was about to pinch Suzanne's ears, trying to give Suzanne some memory, but when she saw Xian Rinxu was there, she immediately put her hand down. There was no way. Her son was now married and starting a business, so she had to save some face for him. "Killer is always talking about you when you, the big brother, are not around. It'll be good when you come back." Concubine Yang also looked happy. The palace was too boring, but Suzanne had more fun in Xiandao City. The brothers had all left, the avalanche was still small, and the palace had become deserted. If it weren't for their mobile phones, they would have been bored to death. 2 aunts, seeing Concubine Yang and Concubine Rong. Suzanne also bowed slightly. Concubine Rong, like Concubine Yang, is also the noble concubine of Emperor Zuyi. She is wearing a white dress and looks dignified and virtuous. She has the beauty, gentleness, and grace of a Jiangnan woman. It's just that the bones in her body are too weak, and she looks a little frail, and her pretty face has a sickly look. Especially against the bright red lip, she looks even more weak and pitiful, unable to bear the torment. "Empress, you have been knocked down." Just when Nang Gongling was about to speak, the palace maid's voice suddenly sounded, and the three of them were shocked. "Your Majesty, please go see your father first, and then come to my mother's place for lunch at noon." After finishing her words, Nang Gongling looked at Suzanne with some dissatisfaction, and then killed her back furiously. Seeing this, Concubine Yang and Concubine Ran couldn't help but feel a little confused, but seeing that Nang Gongling had gone back, their two aunts couldn't stay here, so they quickly turned back. "You two sisters, don't let me die. I'm still a few points away from becoming the god of war." "Ah, I was knocked down too. Who is this person? Does he have any sense of fairness? What's wrong with throwing a bottle? It's okay, I knocked him down too. Now I'll help you up." Hearing the sounds in the palace, Suzanne was confused. Fake. It must be fake. Gargle as if a flock of crows flew across the sky. A cold and ominous wind swept through his body, causing Suzanne's body to tremble. "Damn it, I'm your son. I just came back, and I haven't played a game yet. Is it important?" Queen, Mother and the others are probably too bored in the palace, so they play games to pass the time. Xian Rinxu smiled awkwardly, and Suzanne knew that she was trying to comfort him, but she still felt that something was wrong. "The palace is boring, so I can only stay there on a snowy night. However, this has nothing to do with who is more important, the sun or the game. Let's go back to the palace first." Suddenly feeling quite bad, Suzanne left the palace with Xian Rinxu, originally planning to go to Zuyi's place. However, now that he is prospering among the nobles, he is showered with endless flattery, and his whole body is almost floating. Those who didn't know thought he was a hydrogen balloon. Therefore, Suzanne thought about it, and still did not disturb his leisurely mood. I guess there won't be much to see if I go in the palace. When she heard the footsteps of the two people leaving, Concubine Rong, who had just rescued them, couldn't help but say, "Sister, when you treat them like this, aren't you afraid that they will have complaints in their hearts?" Looking at Concubine Yang and Nang Gongling, Concubine Rong had deep envy in her eyes, and even her words were sour, feeling a little sorry for them. Because of her weak health, she has no children so far. Nang Gongling has 4 sons. She should be happy to have her son back, but she is so unwilling to see her. It is really enviable to others that kid left Xiandao City without saying a word. Now that he's back, we have to cure his stinky problem, otherwise he'll always worry us. Even though Suzanne had apologized before, Nang Gongling was still angry and spoke angrily, with a hint of stubbornness. PFFT. Seeing Nang Gongling like this, Concubine Rong couldn't help but laugh. She didn't expect that the other party would still remember her son's grudge. Sister, you are not blaming King for leaving Xiandao City. Are you blaming him for other things? As someone who has been through this before, concubine Yang's eyes were as bright as a mirror, and she couldn't help but argue. Besides this, what else can there be? Nangang Ling's face looked a little unnatural, but then she calmed down and looked as if nothing had happened. Yes, isn't it because of this, Sister Queen? Concubine Ran asked doubtfully, not knowing what to do. If Sister is in a hurry, you might as well call Xue into the palace to have a heart-to-heart talk. Although the two are not married yet, it doesn't hurt to do things in the royal family as early as possible. Seeing Nangang Ling's indifferent expression, Yang Fei whose Yilangxin seemed to have seen through everything and couldn't help but remind her with laughter. You are the only one who talks a lot. Nangang Ling glared at concubine Yang angrily, her shy look showing mature and charming temptation. Seeing the two of them playing riddles here, concubine Ran was still a little confused. Her eyes were confused, and her face was confused. Seeing concubine Ran looking at her, concubine Yang was embarrassed to explain. After all, it was a matter of men and women, and she was still her junior. As an aunt, it was not easy for her to talk about it. If you know, you know. If you don't know, just pretend you don't know. There is no way to explain it. Hearing concubine Yang's words, Nangang Ling, who was playing the game, felt a little absent-minded. Her eyes were distracted, and she didn't know what she was thinking. I originally thought that the boy had left Xiandao City for a month and brought Kan Ringsu with him, so he should satisfy her when he came back. Unexpectedly, my daughter-in-law is still a virgin. She really doesn't know how to be anxious when she's not a mother. Chapter 221. It's cold at high places. The palace. Why do you come to my place? If you don't train well, why are you running around? Seeing the 7 people in front of him, Suzanne frowned slightly, put down the fishing rod in his hand, and asked, Team Leader. Suddenly, voices burst out from 7 people's mouths at the same time, starting Suzanne. Ahem. Zion was so frightened that he gasped a few times and glared at the 7 people angrily. If you have something to say, don't be polite. From now on, your captain will still be Yu Xianmin, and she will be in charge of everything for you. Yes, the 7 people in front of them are the 7 members of the Royal Academy team, headed by Yu Xianmin, and the other 4 have already met last time. The remaining 2, a man and a woman, looked like twins. It was probably the 2 of them who released the martial soul fusion skill. Captain, since you are back, you might as well go training with us. After all, the Soul Master competition is about to begin. Yu Xianmin looked at Suzanne with sparkling eyes. With such a fiery look, those who didn't know it thought Suzanne was the rich man who supported her. It starts when it starts. There are still 10 days of preliminaries. Besides, I don't plan to compete. You just have to wait and see. Suzanne shrugged and replied with an indifferent expression. Others who have the strength like to abuse food. What's so exciting about this? Use your fists to bully children, to show how capable you are. Suzanne had no interest in the Soul Master competition originally, but now that Bibidang is showing off, he has even less interest. Who loses or wins between the Wuhan Palace and the Xiandao Empire? That's not my family's business. What the hell? Now, is there anyone in mainland China who is more famous than him? Now, is there anyone in mainland China who is richer than him? Now, is there anyone in mainland China who is more chic and handsome than him? Answer, no. So, what is the purpose of participating in the Soul Master competition? Is it fun? You don't plan to compete. Hearing this, Yu Xianmin and others' expressions changed drastically, and they were stunned. They couldn't believe that Suzanne actually said this. They all saw Suzanne's strength. He was definitely a Soul King level combatant. If he participates, the possibility of their Royal Academy winning the championship will be greatly increased. Why don't you cherish this opportunity to win glory for your country after cutting off Wuhan Palace's 4 consecutive championships? I agreed to join the team before, which was really the last resort. Shaking his head and sighing, Suzanne's eyes suddenly became firm, and his expression was extremely passionate. Look at how united the 7 of you are. If any one of you is missing, it will be a huge loss for the team. Think about it. After several years of hard work, several years of wind, frost, rain, snow, and several years of flesh and blood torture. The 7 of you have endured it. This is the last step, but you have to leave one person behind in the finals to let me join in. Have you ever thought about how he feels? Even if he wins, is he really happy? So, Xian paused slightly, looked around the 7 people, and then continued. The reason a team is precisely because it never gives up or abandons it. We go crazy together when we win, and bear together when we lose. Now, you are willing to leave a comrade behind for the sake of victory. Do you think you have a clear conscience in doing so? This upon hearing Suzanne's words, the 7 people suddenly fell silent. All 7 of them did it not to stand in the finals, to defeat the Wuhandian team, to win. Let them quit. 1. To be honest, they didn't pay much attention to this at first. After all, the final victory was the most important. But when Suzanne said this, they immediately hesitated. After working together for so many years, no one would want to withdraw from the finals, no matter who he leaves behind. It will be the greatest regret in his life. Seeing that Xian was about to speak again, Suzanne naturally knew that she knew her tricks well and quickly spoke again. Don't think it's natural to sacrifice yourself for the sake of team victory. Since we are a team, we must advance and retreat together. No matter what, we cannot let me, an outsider, get involved. Otherwise, do you think I'm willing to be your substitute? I don't want to waste the team chemistry you have established. You don't need to say anything. What you have to do is to trust your partner and not abandon him ruthlessly. After saying this, Suzanne knew that telling the many big principles would be counterproductive, so he wisely stopped. Slowly taking out a soul bone from the storage ring, Xue Qinghe said deeply, "This is the soul bone that I finally got. It can be regarded as my contribution to the team as the temporary captain. You can take it yourself." Without any explanation, Suzanne directly stuffed the soul bone into Xian's hand, turned his back to everyone, and said no more words. "Captain, I can quit. I don't have any other abilities, and I don't care about this." Just when Suzanne thought that he had fooled the 7 people into lameness, a rough voice suddenly rang out, and Suzanne almost turned around and slapped them. No need to guess. Suzanne knew who was speaking, the silly big guy in the team, the Tianan in the Royal Academy. Crazy bull. Martial Soul Taurus is a level 44 attack type battle soul master. His martial soul can both attack, and although you don't care, I do. I'm a prince. I have experienced too many glamorous occasions like this. If I want to steal your limelight in the Soul Master competition, am I still defend a human being? Suzanne replied confidently. She was knocked unconscious by Suzanne's operation, but Xian would not be like this. After all, she knew how thick-skinned Suzanne was. This shameless ability to describe the living as dead and the dead as alive is truly unparalleled in the world. Ah, you really so unwilling to participate? This is a matter of competing for honor for the Xiandao Empire? Xian asked angrily. Alas, knowing that Xian was not fooled, Suzanne sighed helplessly and turned sideways to hand over the tablet in his hand. "See for yourselves this." Xian and others immediately came forward, and the 7 of them were shocked when they saw Suzanne's body was charred and black, as if he had been burned by fire. Due to my cultivation, the meridians in my limbs were broken. It has only improved in the past few days. Within half a year, I'm afraid that I will not be able to fight with others. If it weren't for this, I would have to go to the finals no matter what. It's God's will to make people do it. But why is it like this? Shaking his head, Suzanne had no choice but to explain. Hearing this, Xian looked at Suzanne's appearance in the photo and couldn't help but believe it. Seeing that Suzanne had internal injuries, Xian was unwilling to force others to do anything, and finally left with the 6 people without even taking away the soul bones. Glancing at the soul bones on the table, Suzanne shook his head helplessly and heard a deep sigh in the garden. "Alas, when I reach high places, I find that I'm always alone. No one talks to me. The lonely winter makes me tremble. What do I want to do in high places?" Chapter 222. Something happened to Hulina. What's wrong? Just after using his extremely clever IQ to drive away the 7 Xian people, Suzanne saw Qian Ringsu walking over quickly, as if something was urgent, so she couldn't help but ask, Look at this. Without saying anything, Xian Rinxu handed over the phone directly. The battle between the old and new students of the Royal Academy. The craziest new student this year. The 25th level Battle Soul Master challenges the 31st level Battle Soul Master. Seeing these words, Suzanne couldn't help but think of two figures, Xiao and Hulina. They are the only freshmen who have entered recently. Their soul power was level 23 before, but now it is level 25. But that's about the same point. The picture below also confirmed Suzanne's guess. Ziyu was standing on the soul fighting stage. Judging from the surrounding environment, it should be inside the Royal Academy. What's going on? Ziyu is not such a reckless person. Suzanne also frowned. Point level 25 Fighting Spirit Master versus level 31 Fighting Spirit Master. There is basically not much suspense. Not to mention the gap in soul power. Even the opponent's 1000-year soul skill can crush you to death. When the protagonist tanks and faced Amubei, under the premise that the control system restrained the attack system, he was unable to leapfrog the fight, let alone others. In a pure soul skill contest, Tangson really can't beat him, so he can only use the tank's exigent weapons. Xiao has a calm and steady temperament, so she should know this, and there is no way she would do such a stupid thing. You ask specifically what happened, and I'll also ask Meng Shenji. Handing the phone back, Suzanne then took out his own phone and asked his second grandfather Xuan to pull him into the Royal Academy teachers group chat. Damn it. Who is this? There is a new teacher in the academy. New teachers joined the group to learn about the announcement. Red envelopes are the norm. Don't dive in and avoid this serious issue. Start at 1000. Hurry up, or I will have to go to class. Upstairs. You are exposed. Let's find out more over the weekend. Well, ignoring the bullshit of everyone in the group, Suzanne looked at the administrator and directly at Dreamed about Divine Destiny. Old man Meng, what's going on with Ziyu and the others? Why are they fighting with the people in the academy? Meng, old man. The messages in the group suddenly stopped, and then, sexy or not, it's up to you to withdraw a message. Don't look. You don't understand me. Withdraws a message. I'm the most handsome in Xiandao Academy. Withdrew a message. Damn it. There are only a handful of people in Xiandao City who dare to call him old man Zimeng, and they can't afford to offend him. Mei Tao, I'm going to find you tonight. Remember to dress up. Okay. In the room, Meng Shenji was making a video with King Yaowen's old sweetheart when suddenly he saw at HIMSELF among the teachers. After a disgusting kiss goodbye, Meng Shenji quickly opened the group chat. Who is this? How dare you call me old man? Seeing Suzanne's title, Meng Shenji was immediately a little angry, thinking that he was the second best in the Royal Academy of the Xiandao Empire, even if it was Zuyi. Evil Moon. Meng Shenji's heart suddenly trembled when he saw the following text. He seemed to know which ancestor it was. Your Highness, why did you come in? Meng Shenji quickly sent a few smiling and welcoming expressions. Don't talk about anything else. I just asked Ziyu and the others what was going on and why they were fighting with the senior students. Suzanne replied. After hearing the conversation between Meng Shenji and Meng Shenji, everyone seemed to know who the visitor was. Ziyu and I seem to have some conflicts with the Contrabe family. They also came to the academy before, but Ziyu and I were not there. In the end, they were forced to retreat by a few of our teachers. In the past month and a half, people in the college seem to be deliberately suppressing the two of them. I don't know the specifics. Before Meng Shenji could speak, a teacher named, please give me 100 a day, if you love me, had already opened his mouth to answer. It seemed that he was the class teacher of Ziyu and his wife. The Bei family came to Xiandao City. Hearing this, Suzanne's eyes sharpened. He seemed to know what was going on. It was probably because the Bei family didn't know how to do it, so they were looking for someone to do it. Fuck me. You can also touch the people I protect. Look at Ziyu for me. If anything happens to him, I will hang you in front of the academy for people to visit. After sending a message to Meng Shenji, Suzanne quickly got up and prepared to go to the Royal Academy. The Bei family is here. They probably want to kill them all. I'll go to the academy. After giving a simple explanation to Xian Rinxu, Suzanne spread his wings and flew towards the college at high speed. Seeing Suzanne at S News, Meng Shenji's expression suddenly froze. He quickly put on his pants and hurried towards the spirit fighting arena. Auntie, don't let anything happen to you. I can't afford to offend that uncle now. At the gate of Xiandao City, a group of 7 people slowly left Xiandao City with a solemn look on everyone's face. Captain, something happened here with His Highness. What should we do? Leng Rulan Yaoyao said. The Xingluo Empire is so strong this time, the spirit hall won't be much weaker, even if we think about it. Our situation is worrying. The handsome blonde Zhu Feng also sighed helplessly. They saw the strength of Xingluo team and could almost crush them. Originally, if Suzanne could play with his 1-on-2 victory record, they would have a great chance of winning. Pity there is no other way. God does not bring what we want. Since he is unreliable, we have to do it ourselves. Yu Xianmin also had a headache, but as the captain, she couldn't bring this kind of depressed atmosphere to the team. Immediately his face calmed down. Yu Xianmin suddenly became serious and resolute and shouted coldly, before, we never thought about relying on others. Could it be that, because of one loss, we couldn't recover? As soon as these words came out, I was immediately deafened and enlightened. The captain is right. I'm not afraid of them. If I hadn't eaten enough last time, I would have beaten them to pieces. Maden Ayu patted his chest and said not angrily. Seeing the stupid big guy like Maden Ayu, the others couldn't help laughing, and their inner pressure was much reduced. They were the strongest team in the Xiandao Empire. How could they lose like this? It's just Wuhan Palace and Xingluo Empire. If they really fight, they will never lose again. Call out. Suddenly, a white light flashed quickly in the sky, and the 7 people couldn't help but raise their heads. It's that, Your Highness. Looking at the figure in the sky, everyone's faces suddenly froze, and Yu Xianmin's face turned dark and purple. MMP, is this what you mean when your meridians are cut off, and it's not appropriate to take action to recuperate? I really believed your lies. Let's go back to the academy. With a fierce shout, Yu Xianmin immediately chased in the direction of the Royal Academy, and the 6 people also followed immediately. Chapter 223 The Battle of Ziyu. Fighting Soul Platform. Many people gathered at this moment. Although this time it was just a contest between the Great Soul Master and the Soul Master, everyone still seemed to be very interested. There is no way, as one of the strongest people at the Great Soul Master level, the Ziyu brother and sister have been in the limelight since they entered the school. Especially since the other party is 3 or 4 years younger than the freshman, and also possesses martial soul fusion skills. It's really a matter of wind and rain. It was precisely because the 2 of them were so popular and went to the soul fighting arena to earn gold coins that the Bei family discovered the clues. After all, this is the Royal Academy of the Xiandao Empire, and there are countless powerful people in the academy. The Bei family obviously does not dare to come, so they want people in the academy to take action. It would be best to injure or maim them without causing death. They would also end up falling into their hands, because they couldn't stay in the academy. Ping, if you dare to hurt my sister, I will destroy you today. With bloodshot eyes, Ziyu stared blankly at the man in front of her, her knuckles clenched tightly, turning white. Whoever made her speak rudely, as a senior, I should teach her a lesson. Ping picked at his nails and turned a blind eye to Ziyu's anger, his face full of contempt. He was a soul master, and although he had just broken through not long ago, he was still a soul master, and it was not something that a great soul master could compete with. You wanna die? Hearing this, Ziyu's eyes turned cold, and bright red light gushed out from her body, bringing with it a liquid viscosity. Boom. The 2 yellow soul rings on the soles of his feet were also released, and 2 silver scimitars nearly 1 meter long appeared in his hands. Seeing Ziyu take action, Jeping also released his martial spirit. The body is covered with hair and spots, and although the claws on its hands are not long, they look very powerful. His martial spirit is a hyena, an agility and attack type martial spirit. The strong attack overcame the agile attack, and it seemed that Ziyu had some advantages, but the ferocity of the hyena was not comparable to that of ordinary ferocious beasts Ziyu and Jeping, although one is a strong attack and the other is Agility attack. Both of them have equal emphasis on speed and attack power, but they have different emphasis after all. A weapon is mostly blessed with attack power, so it belongs to the strong attack system point. As for the beast spirit, strength is basically standard, and those with speed are naturally of the agility and attack type, but that doesn't mean they don't have strength point. Moreover, because the beast spirit is blessed by itself, it has an advantage over the weapon spirit in the early stage. Therefore, Xiu does not have any advantage at all. Boom. Just like the setting sun disappearing in a blink of an eye, the evil moon collector moonblade rushed straight towards Jepping. Point bang. Metal sparks surged, and Jepping crossed his claws to block the attack. With the corner of his mouth slightly raised, Jepping's claws suddenly turned inward and actually grabbed Xiu's moonblade. Seeing this, Xiu's eyes narrowed, and she kicked directly at Jepping's chest. Jepping also blocked it with his feet. Suddenly, a burst of blood red light flashed, Jepping's face condensed, and he swung his claws violently, spinning the moonblade out of control. Point boom. Xiu stepped forward again, and Jepping, who was in the neutral position, could only cross his hands to block Xiu's attack. Point aha. Jepping was actually knocked back and slid on the platform for a few meters before he stopped. With such a strong sense of fighting, no wonder Xiu is invincible in the realm of great soul masters. Everything seems to be calculated accurately. Such an opponent is really terrifying. It's a pity that the two of them are still at the same level as Xian. Otherwise, seeing Xiu's attack in such a smooth manner, everyone was immediately surprised, and a spark of expectation could not help but arise in their hearts. Very good. Seeing that he was actually repelled, and in front of so many people, Jepping's face became colder, and the look of contempt before was gone. Point the first soul ring on the sole of his foot suddenly lit up, black light shone on the sole of his foot, and his legs suddenly became slender and strong. Point aha. The footsteps suddenly kicked off, and the black figure flashed away, like lightning, and came to Xiu in an instant. Point seeing Jepping using soul skills, Xiu didn't dare to be careless, especially since the opponent's speed was much faster than before. Point stab. The collision of metal caused sparks to fly, and everyone only heard the sound of collision. The figures of the two became extremely fast, and they had already collided several times in the blink of an eye. Facing Jepping's first soul skill, it was rare for Xiu to be able to resist without using soul skills, but if you look closely, you will find that Xiu's top has many small gaps. On his forehead, a drop of sticky blood fell down his cheek, and Xiu subconsciously squinted his left eye. However, seeing Jepping coming directly towards her head, Xiu didn't care, and immediately used her first soul skill. Point dazzling red light bloomed from Yuren's body, and Xiu's left hand suddenly slashed down towards Jepping. Point aha. Red sword light erupted from Yuren's body, forming a nearly 2-meter round blade that cut towards Jepping like a tornado. Jepping's eyes suddenly shrank. He suddenly did a backflip and dodged directly. At this time, another moonblade slashed towards him. The second soul skill, fierce martial arts. Seeing that there was no way to escape, Jepping didn't expect that he would be forced to this point by a great soul master. He gritted his teeth and had to use his second soul skill. Point the muscles in both arms suddenly exploded, making the clothes bulge. The outlines of the muscles were clearly visible, setting off the strong body. Black light was also released from the body, forming a black wall of fog around Jepping. The energy attack moonblade was not knocked away, but pierced into the fog wall, but only the tip was exposed a little, as if it was stuck inside, and it did not hurt Jepping. Point fierce martial arts can increase strength and speed by 30%, and can also form defense. It is a soul skill capable of both offense and defense. Point click. Seeing the moonblade less than 20 centimeters away from him, Jepping's face turned purple, and he directly took a picture. Point click. The energy moonblade was directly shattered, and turned into silver light and dissipated. You have completely angered me. With eyes as gloomy as water, Jepping was furious, and rushed straight towards Xiu, the black claws on his hands filled with cold light. Facing Jepping, who combined offense and defense, Xiu could only fight and retreat. Unfortunately, it was impossible to resist the attack of Jepping, the beast spirit, by relying solely on defense. In the end, Jepping struck him with a sharp claw, and was thrown away. Blood fell from the sky, and there was a bright red and bleeding hole on Xiu's chest. Despite this, Xiu still gritted her teeth and started to fight back the moment she landed. Swish! A moon blade flew out of his hand and slashed towards Jepping, but was knocked away by his defensive shield. Haha, it's all in vain. Seeing Xiu actually throwing out all the weapons, Jepping couldn't help but sneer. Suddenly, a threatening aura came, and Jepping's smile suddenly froze when he saw the second soul skill on the soles of Xiu's feet lighting up. The second soul skill, Full Moon Dance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, The Fourth Soul Ring, 100,000 Years. Xiu, if you want to blame me, it's your bad luck. Holding the wound on his waist, Jepping walked over with a cruel smile, looking at Xiu who was vomiting blood on the ground, his eyes full of indifference and anger. He was a majestic soul master, but he almost fell into the hands of a great soul master. If this happened, he would be the most humiliating stepping stone point. It has to be said that Xiu's second soul skill, Full Moon Dance, is indeed very powerful. It actually cut through Jepping's defensive barrier and almost seriously injured him. If he hadn't dodged in time, his body would have been broken. However, a great soul master is a great soul master after all. Facing Jepping's 3,000-year-old soul skill, K9 Bite, the strongest single target attack skill, Xiu couldn't resist it at all and was defeated in the end. I saw a bloody hole punched through the lower part of Xiu's left shoulder. The wound was bleeding, the whole chest was somewhat collapsed, and blood was gushing out of her mouth. Since you have no strength to fight anymore, I'll send you down. With his eyes focused, Jepping had a proud smile on his mouth face, as if he just got Xiu out of the soul fighting platform. However, the cold light in his eyes was focused on his left shoulder. Coupled with the original wound, this hand will definitely be broken with this blow. Stop. Just when Jepping was about to take action, the surging soul power suddenly swept over him and knocked him away. I saw the Meng Shenji leaping over, and in the blink of an eye, I had arrived at the soul fighting stage. Fuck. Seeing Xiu's current state, Meng Shenji's pupils shrank suddenly, and a ladle of cold water was poured from head to toe, which was very refreshing. Damn it. The injury is so serious, I won't really be hung up today, right? His healing soul master, where are all the dead? Didn't you see that the student's injuries were so serious, Meng Shenji roared angrily, like a crazed tiger, which immediately startled everyone. Seeing Meng Shenji being so angry, was stunned, but then to everyone students immediately stood up to heal Xiu and the unconscious Hulina. Teacher, this is a fair competition, why did you interfere? Jepping, who had been beaten up, suddenly came back to his senses. His expression was not angry, but he was extremely vigilant in his heart. You know exactly what you did. Meng Shenji snorted angrily. After understanding from all parties, he already understood what happened. A student of the dignified Royal Academy was actually betrayed by a Contra family and committed an act of murdering his classmates. It was simply a shame to the academy. Jepping's heart trembled suddenly, and he did not dare to refute. Call out. After a while, a figure flashed across the sky, and Suzanne slowly landed on the soul fighting platform. After looking at Xiu and Hulina lying on the ground not far away, Suzanne's expression became even colder. What the hell? You dare to bully the people I protect? Could it be that after I left Xiandao City for a month, you started to swell? Your Highness, I rushed over immediately, but the battle is over. Seeing Suzanne's glance, Meng Shenji was immediately startled and quickly defended himself. This responsibility was too great, and he couldn't bear it. Who was injured? As soon as he finished speaking, everyone couldn't help but look at Jepping aside, and Suzanne also had a harmless smile on his face. Anyone who is familiar with Suzanne will know that Suzanne at this moment is definitely the most terrifying. What a beautiful job you did. After gritting his teeth and admiring, Suzanne suddenly had 4 soul rings emerge from the soles of his feet. 2 yellow, 1 purple and 1 red. Then, the second soul ring on the sole of the foot lit up, and a green light poured out of Suzanne's body and poured into Hulina's body. Seeing the matching soul ring on Suzanne, everyone at the scene fell into a deathly silence. Damn it. The fourth soul ring is actually 100,000-year soul ring. I'm in trouble. Meng Shenji also rubbed his eyes fiercely, and when he realized that he had seen it right, his face was extremely confused. They too are my people. You dare to bully them, right? Turning his gaze towards Jepping, Suzanne walked over slowly with eyes as cold as ice. What do you want to do? Jepping suddenly recovered from the shock, looked at Suzanne approaching, and subconsciously took 2 steps back, trying to stay away from the monster. What? Of course I will destroy you. Suzanne never makes a move when he can talk. If he has to make a move, Suzanne never makes a move. Point with the golden behemoth, claws on his hand stretched out. Suzanne rushed towards Jepping. Second soul skill, fierce martial arts. Seeing Suzanne take action, Jepping quickly used his second soul skill to protect his whole body. Seeing Jepping's resistance and struggle, the sneer on Suzanne's face became even stronger. Stab. The moment Behemoth's sharp claws came into contact with the black defensive cover, there was only the sound of paper being torn. Ah! A shrill cry rang out, and an arm fell to the ground, with dripping blood flowing all over the ground. Ah! My arm. Holding his right arm tightly, Jepping's face twisted in pain, his purple face trembled, and his legs kicked up and down unconsciously. The shrill shouts also woke everyone up. Looking at Jepping dripping with blood on the stage, everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva, looking at Suzanne with eyes full of fear. 2 of them. If you want to compete in the future, please do as you wish. I will not interfere, but what I want to tell you is that the academy is the academy. Don't bring other interests and grudges into it. The Royal Academy here does not need too much intrigue. If you have other evil ideas and fight against each other, then don't blame me for using evil ideas to deal with you. Scanning the crowd and seeing the fear and timidity they inadvertently revealed, Suzanne was extremely disappointed with this so-called Royal Academy. I'm afraid that few of these people will be able to become useful talents for the Empire in the future. In the Royal Academy, most of them are children of nobles who have no worries about food and clothing and have not experienced real hardships. Rather than cultivating talents, the Royal Academy is better said to be cultivating the next generation of nobles, but there are very few who can be put to great use. Old man Meng, you can handle the rest yourself. Eilines leave first. Noticing the return of Xian Min and his party, Suzanne immediately flew away. That's right. He should be recuperating at home now. Why is he here? You are all hallucinating. Seeing Suzanne abandoning the person and leaving, Meng Shenji's face was speechless. When did he become a butt wiper? However, you have to wipe it when you need to. Okay, let's all disperse. What are you doing standing around here? Meng Shenji snorted angrily, and everyone dispersed after hearing the sound. However, as Suzanne took action, some videos were also circulated on the internet. In less than a while, everyone knew about the existence of a pervert. The fourth soul ring, the special one, is already 100,000-year soul ring. Chapter 225, Poseidon Island, a journey to level up. When he returned to Xiandao City this time, Suzanne had no intention of participating in the Soul Master competition. With his current strength, winning the championship was just a joke. Hulina and Xiao also came to the palace to say hello and thank themselves for saving them a few days ago. Suzanne didn't care about this. Although he had said that he would not interfere with their growth, and he would not have to worry about the storm, Suzanne naturally could not sit idly by in the face of a tornado. Xianmin knew her situation, but still didn't come to see her. It seemed that she had given up. After staying in Xiandao City for a week and simply playing for a while, Suzanne was ready to leave. This time, there were only Kan Ringsu and him, and no one else was with them. Suzanne only sent a message to Nangan Ling and the others, saying that they were following the teacher's wishes and traveling to other places on the spaceship. 2 figures stood leaning on the railing. The mountains and roads below slowly receded, and they passed through the clouds. It looked like a sci-fi blockbuster. Where are you going to take me? The breeze was blowing, and Kan Ringsu had a flower-like smile on her face, and she was in a very happy mood. Your level is too low now. I will take you to level up, so that you can break through to Soul Saint or even Contrap. After rubbing Xian Rinxu's head, Suzanne's eyes were full of amazement as he looked at her immortal beauty after she regained her true form, as if there was a magic force pulling him closer to her. In modern parlance, this is called coveting her body, or degrading. You are only level 45. How dare you say that my strength is low? Jinxiu glanced at Xian Rinxu, who seemed a little unconvinced, and mumbled back. But after noticing what Suzanne meant, Xian Rinxu's eyes suddenly lit up, a little unbelievable. I'm only level 55 now. I'm far away from Soul Saint and Contrap. Are you kidding me? Am I the kind of person who makes jokes? Holding Xian Rinxu's waist, Suzanne smiled, greedily smelling the fragrance on her body, and replied sincerely. Xian Rinxu is level 55, which is about 15 levels away from Soul Saint Point. When Tangsun came out of Poseidon Island, he jumped from level 66 to level 84, a full 18th level. Xian Rinxu's conditions are no worse than Tangsun's. She has soul bone, fairy grass, and martial spirit. Single, especially, her lover is the most awesome person in the world. Besides, if you don't get enough leveling up on Poseidon Island, then go somewhere else to do it. Anyway, there is more than one god position, and it's not like you can only brush one point. It would be a pity if we don't use such a good way to cheat in the later stage. So, where are you taking me? Xian Rinxu asked with a frown. Poseidon Island. You should have heard that Wuhan Palace sent people there before, but the outcome was not good. Suzanne replied. Poseidon Island. Xian Rinxu's pupils shrank suddenly. She naturally reached this place, but, you planning to inherit the throne of Poseidon? Xian Rinxu suddenly became excited, her eyes shining. Point. If Suzanne also becomes a god and inherits the angel god, then she will be a true god couple. Point. Both husband and wife are gods. What a blessing. Of course, Poseidon has made such a huge contribution to the peace and prosperity of the sea. Although I'm the prince of the land empire, I will never discriminate against any sea area. In the future, I will restore the harmony between the sea and the land, and formulate marine management regulations to make the sea more prosperous and everyone can live a good life. Suzanne replied with high spirits. Do you think he is just trying to level up? Do you think he just wants to be a god? No, these are only secondary. His goal is the stars and the sea, and it is the good wish of the whole family at sea and land. Ahem. He even felt guilty when he said it. Seeing Suzanne's decent look, Xian Rinxu gave him an intriguing eye roll, and did not continue to reply. Point. After being together for so long, how could she not know that what Suzanne said was true, and that statement was false? Ahem. I heard that your grandfather Xian Douluo also pursued the high priest of Poseidon Island. As if thinking of something, Suzanne's eyes burned with the flames of gossip, and he raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? Are you jealous of your grandma? Seeing Xian Rinxu's dark and gloomy face, Suzanne suddenly choked, not knowing that she had said the wrong thing again. I'll give you a chance to reorganize the language and think about where you went wrong. Staring at Suzanne with a death gaze, Xian Rinxu reminded him numbly. Point. Hearing this, Suzanne scratched his head and didn't understand what Xian Rinxu meant. Point. Xian Douluo had indeed pursued Bosexi. He was studying the novel Douluo a few days ago, which he definitely remembered correctly, and Bosexi actually liked Tang Chen. Point. At that time, he was still wondering, where did the descendants of Xian Douluo and Tang Chen come from? So, both of them betrayed Bosexi, or did they betray their original wives? TUI. No doubt a pair of scumbags. You just said your grandpa and grandma. My grandparents are not your grandparents, right? Seeing that Suzanne hadn't realized what he had done wrong, Xian Rinxu narrowed her eyes slightly, and a cold current suddenly burst out from her body. Point. A chill swept through his body, and Suzanne couldn't help but shudder, looking at Xian Rinxu speechlessly. Point. Isn't it just the wrong title? As for making such a fuss, it almost scared him to death. Besides, this is not a mistake. Of course it is. I'm not doing this just to make you understand, Xian quickly explained, and as he spoke, he kissed her cheek sideways to show that he realized this serious mistake. That's pretty much it. Glancing slightly, Xian Rinxu's narrow eyes were filled with charm, and a hint of joy flashed across Chen Yuloan's charming face. Suzanne's index finger twitched at the look of eagerness but rejection. Don't make trouble. Noticing the changes in Suzanne's body, Xian Ringsu's body trembled suddenly, and she leaned forward subconsciously, with a red cloud rising on her face. Who told you to keep provoking wars like this? It's none of my business. With his hands wrapped around Xian Ringsu's waist, Suzanne leaned peacefully on her beautiful back. He could clearly feel her body trembling, but there was not much resistance. Don't go inside the spaceship, I'll help you. Xian Ringsu's face was red, and she struggled symbolically twice, but her body quickly became hot and limp. She grabbed Suzanne's arm with both hands to prevent her body from sinking. This is what you said. I didn't force you. Body leaned forward slightly to touch Xian Ringsu's round and delicate body. Suzanne teased. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.